fifth Thursday for a long time and then done away with. And then I brought them back about 2 years ago because I know a lot of people, when they come to our meetings, it's not a situation where we can dialogue. We try our best to answer questions at the end, but it's just a nice time for us to be laid back, just casual and dialogue. And, you can ask questions and we can actually answer. And if we don't have the answer, we will get your information and get the answer to you. So what I'd like for us to do first and foremost, Officer Gunn and Officer Martin are here. We just have them here for, everyone's safety, and we just ask that everyone be polite and courteous, and, let's just have a nice back and forth conversation without, anything other than that. So the way we're going to do it, if you'd like to speak, just come up to the podium, tell us your name, your address, if you live in the county or city, and there's no time limit on this. You can just ask us your questions and we'll, do our best to answer. So just take turns, and when one person sits down, the other person can just come up.
Mayor, could I ask for something?
Yes.
Would everyone please stand, reflect on the tragedy that's hit our nation's capital, and just pray in our own way, and also the school shooting in Antioch this past few days. Anyway, if you just bow with me and please pray in your own way, just a few moments, please. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I'm not doing the Pledge of Allegiance for any reason. Just town halls, we usually don't do that, but I'm good with it. All right. I pledge allegiance
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don't be shy.
Al Tiroli from Park. This is probably your easiest question you're going to get tonight. When before Mr. Collins came here, used to, turn on Channel 19 if we couldn't make it in to watch it. But since that time, and I don't know how much before that, it's always updates coming soon on Channel 19. Is there any way of erasing that, or actually put whatever updates there were going to be, 7, 8, 9 years ago on Channel 19 before your meetings?
So I review it on either Facebook, the web, on our Facebook page, or on YouTube. So I don't have Channel 19 because I don't have TV at home. So you're going to have to, maybe the others know more about this.
And this is with Comcast. I don't know if you have some other, TV provider, but I mean.
Do you have Facebook or any of that?
Yeah, but I'm not going to watch it. I don't use Facebook, so.
Okay, well, I mean, you don't have to get on Facebook. It's just basically, you can go on YouTube or something like that and type in City of Fairview in the meeting, whatever the meeting date is. But I don't have TV at home, so I'm going to have to defer to one of the others.
That's the first I've heard of it. I always assumed it was still on there. I too don't have television, so it wasn't something I was aware of. But I think that's something we can absolutely look into.
Yeah. Just a nitty thing, but
Yeah,
it's
no,
just,
but-
after 10 years.
I
Not
love that
everybody
you
wants
mentioned
the
this.
internet. Not everybody wants to go with the YouTube and Facebook, and that's completely understandable. And it should be available on television if that channel's dedicated to that. So we just need to find out where what had happened on that. Thank you for bringing it to our attention, and I think
Sure,
we can-
yeah, because I didn't realize that it had, I knew that it was on Channel 19. I didn't realize that had ended. Do you know when that stopped?
No, it's still, I mean, the meetings are still broadcast on Channel 19. It's just that 10, 15 minutes or so beforehand, you know, if you click into it, updates coming soon. It's just the thing that covers the whole TV screen. And then at 7 o'clock, the meeting starts, you know. It's just-
So,
Well, this is great to know about, though, because I know that we've had several conversations about how to access the information if you don't have social media. And I don't think this has been mentioned before. So I'm sorry, everybody. I had no idea that there was even a TV station dedicated. So this is great.
For Comcast, like I
Hey.
said, others, I know other people have different
Yeah.
providers and it's somewhere else you have to go, but.
okay,
it's just
I
convenient,
guess I
that's all.
misunderstood. I thought you were saying that it's no longer being aired on Channel 19. I knew that it
no,
was on
no.
Comcast 19.
Updates coming soon has been aired and still are being aired, or it still is being aired, so.
And
It's
also,
just an
well, and also
aggravating-
our meeting, though, is being aired on 19, right?
Yeah, and
Okay.
anything that's recorded.
If you
is
step
shown.
around and look at, is that what you see? Do you mind looking at that screen there? Is that what it says?
I was just going to say that.
It's probably, my guess is
right.
it's a placeholder while it's not streaming. We can adjust that saying meeting to start momentarily or something like
Well,
that.
and
so
we're
there's
getting a
less
signal from Miss Bree in the back. Are there other television providers where it can also come through in the TV? Is it just Comcast, or can you get it through AT&T or DirecTV?
So I'm not sure about specific providers. I do know that this is a preset, and it runs constantly unless we are actively filming a meeting. I have to go in and set it to record specifically these meetings, and that's what broadcasts, but the rest of the time, it's just a preset, and I would have to ask how to fix that or what to change it to.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Do reruns.
Thank you.
You can have reruns.
Greatest hits,
Get royalties too.
bloopers. Yeah.
Mike's, there we go.
Cameron Campagna, 7710 Woodford Drive. I live in the city. My comment today is about the shooting range and who thought it would be a good idea to have a firing range within a 3-mile range, give or take, of the high school, middle school, and elementary school. Are all the guns going to be suppressed, or are we going to create an environment where our kids are accustomed to gunshots going off in the background when they're in gym class or when they're playing soccer at the rec center? What kind of message are we sending? Have we tested to see if the gunshots can be heard from the properties of the school? I'm not opposed to the gun range, but I am opposed to creating an environment that's potentially going to be unsafe for our children, my children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ray Goodman, and I live in the city. I just want to have some comments about the gun range. We teach our kids, when you go into nature, we've been long time scouting parents, I'll put it that way. You leave no trace behind. You do not disturb nature and its habitat. Also, we teach them, if you need to help someone or you need help, you find one of our heroes in uniform because they will help you. So I think the city's in a hard situation. There's no way that there's a good answer to have a gun range next to a nature preserve. But we need both. The nature preserve is the pride of the city. I think everybody talks about Bowie. Even people I've talked to that don't live out here know about Bowie. My question is, can't we have both? Can't we find some way to take funds and give the police officer an indoor range that they deserve, that they can be proud of, and collaborate with other units where other people can come in and use our indoor range, and then they can go and use their outdoor range at night in the rain and the snow. It's $750,000 has been put in the budget this year. Maybe that could go as a down payment, and then you're looking at if the figure I got was like a $3 million commitment, then for 3 years we can make a commitment of that $750,000 to pay off the indoor range. This would really build community spirit. We could also do maybe fundraisers build a community spirit around. We love our police department, we love our park, both. We have very talented people in this community. I'm putting somebody's name out there that may kill me, but Travis Fox and his beautiful wife, Ashley, he's extremely talented. We could do concerts, we could get him to coordinate maybe something that would profit the police department and help us build the indoor range. There's so many things we could do that would be a community builder. It's very concerning that you would have to take from one to give to the other, because you are going to destroy a nature preserve if you have constant gunfire going on that close to the reserve. Plus, if you have horse trails, somebody's on a horse, we know enough about horses that you hear gunshots, you could get killed thrown from a horse. So it's very dangerous to have it that close, but the police department desperately needs a gun range, and the indoor range would help us if we could find the funds and make that commitment to them. And also compassion for both sides. I was concerned last meeting that it seemed like the decision had been made for the police department to get the outdoor range. And then you had someone come up here with tears in her eyes with a fifth-generation home that you're basically going to destroy her peace. And you can't pick one or the other. I mean, if you can, then you're not making the right decision. This is the stuff people lose sleep over. I know we have, because we love both, the police department and the park. And it would just be great if we could be proud of both and have a state-of-the-art, maybe, gun range that other counties are saying, can we come and use your range, and in exchange, you can come and use our outdoor range. So just didn't know if that could be an option, if we could make that commitment. Is there any way to do that?
I think an indoor range would be a great idea. It's just the finances, I think, is what's hard, like you
Yeah.
said.
Maybe this year use the $750,000 to plan and the down payment. Talk to indoor gun range experts and see what it would take for us to collaborate with them and make this commitment. And I think it would be a real community builder. Be great for the police department too, because you're not making them the enemy. Because every time you hear those gunshots, people are going to get mad. They're going to be like, this is insane. So it would just be a great community builder. And you're looking at $750,000, that leaves you at $2,250,000. You could, at $750,000 for the next 3 years, you could have it paid off. So I don't know how your budget works or if y'all could work it, but it seems like a good answer.
I'm grateful for your creative thinking and that you are coming up with some ideas and that you're pointing out both sides. As you are sort of tacitly implying with this is a challenging topic.
Oh, it's impossible.
It is, and we really are obviously grappling with what to do. But I just want to thank you because you have been constant and you've come up several times and you're continuously thinking about this and bringing your best ideas. And I appreciate that so much because
Thank
it's
you.
helping me to think through.
I really love this community, and I know that it's a beautiful place, and it's kind of like the Paved Paradise song. I don't know if y'all are that old, but I don't want to have to go to a tree museum, you know?
I hear you.
Plus, we also love our first responders. But thank you.
Thank you.
Another topic I'll talk about later, but catch me, I have to be caught up a little bit. I keep hearing we need a fire.
Can we
I know-
get your name, address?
Sorry. Sheila
That's
Cook-
okay.
Sheila Cook, 7422 Swindon Boulevard, Fairview. So I keep hearing that we need another firehouse on 96 because we're growing. Is that true, or am I missed that?
It has to do with our ISO ratings and all of our communities, what they pay in their insurance for their homes,
Okay.
and
so-
also population as
So
well.
we're growing enough that we feel like that's something that's going to happen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So my concern, gun range, I'm all for guns. I'm all for the police being able to protect us. Whether it's at Bowie or not, I'm not going to get into that fight. I don't have a house over there, so I'm not going to speak to that. I'll let others speak to that. I'm very fiduciary, very budget-minded person. So if we know we need to build a firehouse, do we have money for that? And I'm hearing $750,000 to start, and then go forward and $3 million, and that just blew my mind. So it's like, I don't know, I don't go build a house and say, well, let me start with $250,000 and see what happens, and it's $3 million later. That just doesn't make sense to me, but maybe I'm missing a lot here. So my question is, do we really have a thought on that? And an indoor range, that's great. There's Royal Range. I'm sure we won't even spend $750,000. We send them down there every day. I hear that they want something more challenging and up, but maybe a different place if that's the problem. I don't know, but it doesn't matter to me where you decide to put it. I'm still like, what's the cost? And do we put the range in and then they go, well, we need a fire department? Well, we got to raise your taxes because we don't have the money. We spent it over here, but we have to have that. So to me, it's like I would prioritize my budget. I'd like to have a new car, but we got to have this or whatever. So that's what I would ask. And where are y'all in all those pieces? Any?
So, ma'am, as of right now, we had our amended budget, and I think probably in the next month or so, we're going to be coming up with our next budget for the following year as well. So right now, we have an amended budget for $750,000 for the training facility for the police department. I don't believe that we have a budget yet for our fire department, but we do have a budget set aside for the design and engineering of the fire department. But right now, we also have our secondary fire department, which is part of Williamson County. And we have, there's a single wide trailer there. And I'm not exactly sure if those two double wides that are parked outside of Loblolly Nursery is for us or not. But we are going to be activating that firehouse shortly, which used to be the emissions control building for Williamson County. So right now we do have a fire truck in there, and there's two bays, so it will be active. I know that we just also budgeted in our amended budget for 2 additional firefighters. Was that correct? Right, 2 additional firefighters to be hired to join with our staff just now. So we'll be able to train them and start staffing that secondary location. So that's going to be a great addendum to our city as well. As far as the $750,000, I was told, I could be wrong, I could be not, I don't know, that $750,000 will cover the complete cost of the construction of the police training facility. I feel that $750,000 is low, and I'm in that kind of world. I'm in the construction world. I mean, I'm a painter, but when I lived in New York, I was involved in developing and building and budgeting. I feel that $750,000 is shy. That was one of my gripes with the amended budget, was that if we approve this budget with the $750,000 in it, because it had other things in that amended budget as well that we had to approve in order to move our city along. But that $750,000, if we invest that into our fire department, into the training facility, and if it says it's going to cost $2 million, which I don't know if it is or isn't,
Right.
so I don't want anyone to think that I'm saying it's going to cost $2 million. I'm just saying, if we invest that $750,000, is it going to cost $2 million? Because at that point, we've already invested $750,000. We're going to have to see it through all the way. Now let's hypothetically say we spent $3 million on it. That's money that we do not have budgeted. We don't have it in our funds to do. We're trying to run a very fiscal city here. I think we're doing a great job as it is, but some of the ideas that our city wants to do going forward with not just the shooting range or the training facility or the police department or our judicial system that we want to build, there's going to be a lot of money to be spent in the near future here in the city of Fairview, because we're growing. And I mean, everyone sees the construction that's going on in our city, and we really need to hold it in a little bit. So, just to go back to what you were talking about with the fire department, it's needed. It's going to happen, and we're going to see it because we need it.
Right. So
And
what if
the
we
same
spend all
thing-
the money on one thing
Well-
and That's something we
Well,
have to
and the same
have.
thing with the training facility. So that
Yeah.
training facility is going to be used not just for police, but for fire as well. They're going to be, what I was told with the tower, they're going to be using it for rappelling. They're going to be using it for other training things as well. So it's not just going to be for police. So there will be classroom there as well for our police officers and for fire department and municipality to hopefully use.
And I'd like to piggyback off of what Commissioner Buffalini is saying and just make sure that this is clear, because I've gotten this question a few times in the past few weeks, and so this is the perfect opportunity to mention it again. We allocated $750,000 in the proposed budget. It's sitting there as a line item. It's not spent money, and nothing has been approved. So that money is not going to automatically be spent on anything. We need to see a plan with a total amount. And there's no guarantee that we would approve anything over $750,000 for this facility. But we've been told over and over again that that's supposed to be the cost. So we went ahead with approving the budget, and I can't speak for the rest of the board, but for myself, we had delayed and revisited and discussed. And like Commissioner Buffalini said, there were so many other things that needed to be approved that with just allocating this money there, it might look like an approval, but that's not what it was. I made sure of that before I just let it go. So I asked that a couple of times.
Yeah, I remember hearing that.
And as far as the other proposed projects are concerned, what we have been told coming into this is that none of it has been approved. So the judicial center that's been discussed has not actually been approved. We don't have, that's not money that's spent. I think it's discussion. I think it's things that are in the long-term planning and conversations I've had with Mr. Doherty, our city manager. That's exactly what he's told me. So it's not approved. It's not money that's spent. I think the issue that we have here is one of prioritization. And I think that your point is understood, Ms. Cook, is that if we spend the money on this training facility and it exceeds the $750,000 in the bond money that we've approved, then that's going to take away from what we might have for some of these other projects.
Yeah.
And we have to be very careful and responsible about that.
Yeah, and I've seen of course, you see on Facebook, and they say, what's a bond? We got to spend it. People understand, bonds you pay back, grants you don't. This is not a grant, right? It's a bond.
That's right.
We have to pay it back, whether we have the budget or our taxes get raised or something doesn't get done, building something, which some things you have to build, right? So, okay, I just want to make sure I have my facts correct, so.
But ma'am, something else that I want to reiterate, and I said this at the last meeting as well, is please do not read into anything that you're going to read into factual on Facebook.
I don't.
You know, because some people just spew
Oh, I know.
on Facebook. I mean, it makes me dizzy.
Yeah.
So-
They say bonds, we already got the money, and I'm like, no, dude, that's, we pay
Right.
back bonds.
Correct.
Grants, we
Correct.
don't pay back. That's
Right.
two different things, so,
Right.
yeah, I understand, but maybe somebody's watching this that puts that stuff on Facebook, I don't know, so.
I'll add a little bit, and I may be off on some of this, but my understanding, the bond was something that was obtained years ago. It has an expiration date that money has to be spent by a certain time period.
Okay.
The rate in which we got on that was pretty good. I don't want to quote that right now, but it's a pretty good rate. So it's
Yeah.
not like it's got a wild interest on it. As far as the process, if my understanding, the only thing left for the training facility, and if I can just address the training facility, I met with the police department this morning and talked with a handful of the officers. I understand that gun range is a piece of that. If anyone's ever been in the police station, hopefully none of you have for any reasons other than just stopping in and saying hello, but it's incredible how tiny of a situation they are operating in down there.
Yeah.
For instance, we have 31 officers on staff, I'm pretty sure, 20 patrol and 11 between detectives, captains, and chief. The current training room that we have sits 16 people. So, I mean, they can't even meet as a group without standing room only. So this facility is more than just a gun range. There would be an opportunity for them to actually get together. There would be a lot more training that takes place at that facility outside. There'd be dry firing. There would be maneuvering. There would be non-lethal training, there would be classroom training as a group, which would allow for them to do that, which is just opportunities to better serve the community. So I just want everyone to know it's more than just going down there and shooting rounds. Now, on top of that, they are restricted by an ammunition budget, and I believe the line item of that is $12,000 for the year.
That's not a lot these days.
No, it's not. It does not go very far when you've got 31
Right.
officers that are all needing to get those reps in. So they are limited by that. So, I mean, obviously, they're not going to just be a kid in a candy store type situation where they can just go out there and shoot and shoot and shoot. They'd run out of money for that, for their budgeted ammunition.
Well, shooting is one issue, and I kind of understand both sides of that.
Yeah, and
But
that's
but
fair.
it's the cost too.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
and
just- I
make
just-
sure, so the bond money, I mean, yes, we got to spend is part of the fire building and stuff. The new firehouse, which means manning it, I guess a fire truck, ambulance, whatever goes with those things.
So we just recently allocated some funds to purchase another fire engine in preparation for that facility to be built. That's part of the reason why we're hiring more firemen right now too, is to prep so when that does come operational, we'll have enough to staff both facilities and not have to increase the budget by hiring a bunch of firemen on top of it. He's trying to prepare that on the back end, or on the front end, so we're ready for it and it doesn't inflate the budget having to fill all that. But as far as the firing range go, or the training facility for the police department, if it can be built within the $750,000 that we have budgeted, the only thing left for it to do is to go to the planning commission and have a site plan approved. If the site plan is approved and it is within the $750,000, my understanding is it will not come back before this board. Now, if it goes in excess of that $750,000, obviously we would have to come into the conversation and approve any additional funds that would be required to finish that project or to move forward with it. Now, as the two commissioners at the end stated, that budget, if they do need more money, they do need to come back, and we'll have to have that conversation. But it is just
They're
earmarked
saying
money.
they can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on with my mic. It's usually I don't have to be eating it for it to be heard. Let me.
Let me ask you this then. I know you're, how much is allotted
that
to pay somebody to build the plants? Because to me, that should be all that's authorized. I mean, I've seen this in companies. They get a check and they just keep going with it. And I know we don't want to spend so much and stop, but I respect companies that maybe are 1 or 2 million in. I know that's bigger companies. And they go, this is just throwing money out, we're stopping. Versus spending 30 million to keep going,
Yeah, absolutely. So just like anything, there's steps, right? There's certain studies that have to be done. There's other steps along the way before you're actually putting a shovel in the ground and starting to build the facility. So that $750,000 is to use towards anything revolving around that build. So if we get to a point, say $100,000 is built or spent to have a design built, and we find, it's actually going to be 1.2. Yes, that 100,000 would have been spent, but we could say, look, we're not going to move forward with
Okay.
this. We're going to stop.
So you are
here.
going to spend to find out, because I'll give you an example. My husband used airplanes. All the airlines, they'll spend, I don't know, whatever, for this airplane. We'll say 1.2 million, there may be more. But the government, when they build them, the same people, if they broke 3 doors and a whole bunch of other stuff and broke an engine and the 1.2 turned out to be 2.1, guess what? The government paid 2.1. I just want to make sure we're not that kind of government, I guess.
Well, I think they might operate a little differently. I know as far as like that 750 is a hard stop, right? Like Tom can't write a check for 900 without our approval.
Okay.
We would have to give that an okay.
So you're going to award like somebody to build this, like some company to build this. And I guess is my thing, like when I built my house, they said it cost this much. They don't come back later and go, well, we broke 3 or 4 things, it's going to cost more. Do y'all get those kind of firm
Yeah, but just
quotes,
like as
not
if
estimates,
when
or-
you're building your house, you might be halfway through it and decide, you know what, I want granite on my countertops instead. And now all of a sudden your house just went from here to a little bit
But
more.
we changed it.
But you changed it, right. And
Right,
so
that's
we will
different.
have an idea of once it's planned, right? Once the site plan is brought to us and this is what we're looking at, you'll have material costs and all of those things in
Okay.
there. The $750,000 is really just like, hey, this money's been set aside to go towards this project. and you can take out of it as needed. You know, we need $50,000 to have this study completed so we can move to the next step and that next step.
I guess what's
my
the
understanding
hard
is that
line
design is
spin?
taking place.
What's the hard line spin that they stop taking before you go, okay, this is what it costs to complete, and you
Well,
don't keep taking
the
money
lion's
out?
share of that budget would be the build itself,
Okay.
right? So, I mean, I don't want to misquote.
Well, I know, I'm not
figures,
asking
but-
for a number, but
Yeah.
y'all really should have a number of.
But I will say, in regards to the overall cost, I think Tom, our city manager, said it was estimated from the company, the CEC, the company that he was working with the design, and it was a couple years old now, like 2 years ago, I think that quote, or was it maybe last year? I don't know, but in today's world, prices change all the time, so who knows? But I think 1.1 was the highest that was quoted, if I remember correctly. So just the 2 million, the 3 million, I think I even saw on Facebook this past week, someone said 4 million. All of that's just,
Yeah,
I don't know where it's coming from.
That's why I'm asking y'all.
1.1 is 1.1 was the highest number I believe I have heard from a source that I would say is credible.
okay, but if it's 100,000, give them to do the plans and whatever, we stop there, and then they should be able to let you know it's gonna be 1.1 or 750 or,
Right.
Yeah,
So what's going to happen is that once we get our plans, we're going to put it out to bid. Because it's over a
Right.
certain amount of money, it has to go out for bid, and hopefully we get at least 3 or more bids back, but a minimum of 3 bids. And we're going to go with not just the cheapest, but one that's not is the cheapest, but also the most reputable company
Right.
that's going to be able to build our facility that we're looking to build.
so unless they dig and find a surprise, like hit a line or something, then we
There's-
shouldn't have any surprises, right?
I believe there was some studies that were done just to make sure that a building could be built there. So that's been spent. I don't know exactly that dollar amount off the top of my head, but yes, as now, once there's no more studies are going to be completed until we know that we can actually fund the project that we're looking at.
And one thought I don't expect y'all
Sir,
to
when
answer.
when Ms. Cook is finished, you can come up to the podium. We'd be happy to answer your question, okay?
I'm almost done.
That's
So,
We've got time for everybody.
one other thing you don't have to answer, but I know they said let other people come. It's like, if we spend this much, is there any way to get recoup if other departments come and use it? That's all I'm gonna, you don't have to answer that?
We're trying to stay away from that. I mean, obviously, the sensitivity around this facility, we want to make sure that we have control over what's happening there. I believe the conversations that we've had with the police chief is it will be used exclusively by our police department.
So you don't think if Dixon or Franklin wants to come
Dixon
use it?
has their own facility. Franklin's got their own facility. Most municipalities have their own. So I don't really know if there's any in the area that would need to use ours. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'd like to say something before you leave.
Okay.
All this is well and good, but we haven't seen a site plan. And that's one thing I want to see, because I have some safety ideas that I would like to have input if it goes forward. There's a lot of safety features that I think can be added to it that would make it a little more safer. And that's the first thing that I've always thought of is safety first.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing I want to see. It's a site plan and see what the plan is for.
I agree. As much as I don't want a lot spent, safety, you gotta pay for that.
Safety
I want it
starts.
right, so.
It's
you know.
like the foundation starts, the next thing is safety.
That's right.
As far as
Thank
I'm
you.
concerned.
And I do want to say the chief did mention that it could be a training in conjunction with another police department or something, but they would not be using it alone. Just like our fire training tower, we have other fire departments come and they use it in conjunction as a group with our firemen, and that's how our fire training tower is being sought after by, different fire departments in the state, because our fire chief and our fire marshal, Jake Warren, designed our live burn training tower, and the other departments have seen it or come here to check it out. And now it's called the Fairview, and the people who construct it named it that, and it's in their brochure. So that's a big deal for us. But it's a great facility, and other fire departments want to check that out, and they like it, so they want to do one of their own. So it could be in conjunction with others, but it will be in conjunction with our our policemen.
And I also did speak with the chief. There's also going to be restricted hours and utilization of that facility, because I did ask in the last meeting. I was like, is this going to be stop by when you have a break or something like that, or it's not going to be like that? There's going to be specific hours to be used, so it's not going to be after a certain amount of time, after say 8, 9 o'clock at night or something like that. Don't quote me on that. I'm just saying it'll be specific hours. So they'll do something if they want to do a night shoot. They'll do something at sundown. It won't be at 9 o'clock at night or anything like that. Because
Maybe-
that was one of my concerns, is like Saturday, Sundays. Oh my God, I'm having a baby shower or something like that. My wife's not pregnant. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, if there's like a shower or something,
Right.
someone's having a wedding in their backyard, all of a sudden you're hearing bang, bang, bang. It's not going to be like that. So.
Well, I would hope on the city website, you gave at least a week or, some kind of schedule, the month, the week, or whatever. So then people won't have to wonder, I hear this noise, is this the police training or whatever? So I'm sure that's easy, right?
That was another thing I spoke with the officers about this morning when I met with them, was what does your training look like when you're doing these live fire trainings? And you go to a public, I'm sure it sounds like you've probably been to a public range. You might be next to somebody who is just seeing how many rounds they can get down range and just going crazy. Law enforcement, that's not how they work, right? It's very structured. So it'll be, they might shoot 5 rounds, assess the, how did that go? What did we do? I mean, I'm sure these guys can attest to that, but it's a lot more structured than what your public setting would be, or what even someone like you or I might do if we had free reign to do something like that. There's a little bit more control to it. And the training officers that were in the room talking with me, I mean, that even when they now go and travel to, say, Dixon Firing Range, for instance, to use that, there's range safety is at the forefront of every session that they have. So that's always discussed beforehand. This is what we're doing today. This is, so everybody's on the same page. And like I said, safety's always, I mean, they're all law enforcement at the end of the day. And if our police chief and what he's done with that department over the last couple of years since he's taken over it, I mean, there's no doubt that I have no trouble believing that at all. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's just for all in the room. I'm sure some are probably having some questions, but I appreciate your questions.
And
Mayor, I have one more comment, if you
Okay.
don't mind.
Well,
One thing that I asked the chief the last time in an open meeting was he's going to have supervisors there at the firing range. And he did reply that he would, and that's another thing I think. It needs a supervisor there at all times, especially if another sheriff's office or police office officers come in. They need a supervisor from Fairview to be watching over it.
And also, I wanted to point out, one of the discussions at the last meeting was, this city property is surrounded by county. They can shoot anytime they want to, and they do. And they're not trained, and they're not behind a berm. So when it's county property, if the people that surround that on their county property, they can shoot, that we can't control if they're trained. And I mean, so at least this is, safety minded, but the people who shoot all the way around that property, we can't control that. So that's happening right now.
Let me say this, Mayor, if you don't mind. I lived there for 18 years, just right within a few hundred yards of where it's proposed. Every Sunday afternoon when it was good weather, there was a firing range down before Castleberry was ever built. In the bottom down, back behind my house, down in Aden Creek, I think. There was a firing range down there, and it went on for hours on end. So that was another uncontrolled or unsupervised firing range down there. I knew who it was, but I'm not going to say.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Floyd Twilliger. I've got property out on 96 North in the city limits, about 11 acres over there, and then Rhonda and I have 60 acres together over there on Crowcut and about 17 acres over there on Dice Lampley. Well, anyway, I've worked through my life, big general contractors. I know all about it. I've been field superintendent, and many have field engineering degree. So I know that just even getting the plans alone for a project like this is not tiddlywinks. I would only imagine in the upper tens to multiple tens of thousands of dollars just for the plans of this alone. I have no doubt. Engineers and architects doesn't work for free. They're like attorneys. Long story short, I have no doubt that our officers and our emergency services need all the training they can get. That's all we want in this community, okay? So, me and there are a lot of other neighbors around out in the area where I live have cattle operations, livestock operations, horse farms. We take our pride in having our country living, for sure. Now, I'm not going to say that, hey, I had to shoot at a couple of coyotes the other day. I got all kind of rifles, guns, to keep things of coyotes and critters at bay from our baby calves that we had the other day. Now, we want our officers and emergency services to have the very best training, for our community to have the very best of our fire department. I'm on property right down the road from where they're fixing to build the new fire department. Thank God we need it, because I wouldn't know what I'd do if something was to happen to the house over there or out there, you know, on Crowcut or over here on Dice Lampley. With maybe not having the officers of the city come into Crowcut or Dice Lampley, but as a whole, my concern is the nature part of over there, the livestock there's people that they're elderly, they can't get here tonight. They may not even, I've talked to so many over there that don't even know what's going on. They have no idea. Most of them don't even know, and they have not necessarily themselves that can come, but maybe their children or people that they would leave that property to somewhere down the line that even knows what's going on. It's a big deal. That's part of this community in Fairview, of knowing that, hey, down the road, this place is still got some nature left to it, and a place where people can come and, you know, I can buy a plot over here, and I can raise some cattle, I can have a horse or two, I can do this or that, or have, that's a big deal. And I know that there are a lot of y'all up there that migrated here, that maybe you grew up in a city, I don't know, but that is what is special about this community here, okay? And I think that out there in that area, that needs to remain the same. And I believe that we need to do whatever we can to find the appropriate place for our officers to have a facility somewhere, yes, where they can have the utmost best training, our fire department, the utmost best training, and be able to perform at what we need as a community in a whole. And I beg of that, y'all. And this means a lot to not only the people out there around. I've been around and I've spoke with a lot of them. And I know that, you know, oh, I didn't know, and I just can't get it. And it is a lot. And like I said, it's out there. We're pretty rural. We want to keep it that way. And we know the officer's not going to be out there just bang, bang, bang. And we know whatever's built out there It's gonna be the utmost safe. I'm not worried about something shooting one of the, but I mean, yeah, I got old mama cows and they get, hey, I have to tell my little granddaughter, she goes out there, hey, don't walk up on them that fast. They're a little nervous, you know, and they are. But you could take a little doggy treat and they will come running, you know, but she makes one little sudden move and it spooks them. And I don't want them, nobody around, because we have, you know, we take our pride, and there's a couple of us over there that's trying to do this regenerative grazing with these cows. It's a whole new concept in the old traditional type cattle raising. It's, you know, it's a moving them around and, you know, from one little area, you know, a couple 100 yards, fencing them off and letting them eat this and move. It's a genetic, oh Lord, I don't know how to explain it to y'all because I'm just an old dumb country boy, but what I'm trying to explain is like it's a concept that's come from way back. We're trying to bring it back. It's not just throwing a bunch of old hay out there when, you know, there's nothing to eat. It's setting them on a plot, letting them eat it, let it regenerate, move them over here, and they're just peaceful, they're calm, and it makes a, you know, it's trying to get rid of all these antibiotics and wormers and all these things that's going on in the world that, you know, like we're having enough hard time getting good eggs and chickens with diseases and without disease. It's a big deal. And this is that part of the community, Lisa.
It's grass-fed, grass-finished, and
yes, ma'am.
That's the kind of
And
meat
it's
I
a big deal.
buy exclusively and eat from a farmer out here. And I appreciate what you're saying because that's how I eat
It's
now.
a big deal. And look, we all want, God bless our officers. God bless our fire people. All our EMS. I mean, I wouldn't know what to do without them. Lord knows I've used them enough. Both sides of it, but I just wish we could find a better place than over there for this. Can we please try to do that?
If I may ask you a question, sir, I appreciate everything you said. I hear you loud and clear. I think
Yes,
you make
sir.
some great points. However, my question would be, let's say we moved it clear to the other side of the Fairview boundary.
Well, I'm about over there I got property over there too.
Well, sure.
Now,
That's
and
probably
so
what
do-
he's
and
trying
so
to
do-
say.
towards the
yeah.
city. And I'll be honest with you, over there, I paid city taxes, Lord God, for I don't know how long since they moved the city up there. Hey, up until a few years ago, I didn't even have city water, and I still don't have no city sewer. And the city water that I would be, which I did pay for a tap, but hell, Dixon owns it. Mm-hmm. And other than that, and I got the worst internet over there up until they started running this fiber a couple of months ago. Didn't even, just had a landline of DSL stuff. Terrible. And let me tell you something. Between all them properties, I'm paying over $12,000 a year, city and county. $12,000 a year between that over there and the other places. Over $1,000. I pay over $1,000 a month in city and county. And that man, Lord, that's big. And I'm not old, but I'm still not young anymore neither, you know. So
Sure,
think
I mean,
about that.
yeah,
And it really breaks my heart to think about. I got a couple of boys that are young, and the Lord knows, you know, having to help them, and it's not going to be no easier for our children. My little granddaughter, man, God bless. I'm just trying to make something for her for when she does get old enough to where I can say, hey, little girl, D-Daddy's got you enough money to have you a car to make it from A to B for you can go to school. And I just hope you got enough sense to listen to what old dummy's telling you and get you the best education at what you can and succeed, you know, because just being an old fool like me and working with their back and, you know, old muscles is gonna be hard to do for young ones these days. You gotta really be, you know, it's not easy. And I love this community. And God knows I want my little granddaughter to survive, and I don't want to see stuff like that out there looted, you know. And I'm not saying that our blessed officers don't need all they can for our training or for our, none of our EMS, but I just think it out there is, we need to keep that kind of pristine if we can, and you know, keep that where we can if it's possible. That's all I'm asking.
I respect what you're saying, and I think that your grandchildren that you're talking about,
Well,
your
I
children
just
are lucky
know
to have
what
you.
it costs to even just get something like that drew up. I have experience in engineering and being a part of, you know, big city, municipal, underground and over, you know, head utility stuff. So I've done it all my life. So I just know how much all that could initiate right off the rip before even a dozer sits ground. The hours and the time, what a, you know, just a D5 dresser dozer would cost to get out there per hour. You know, a couple of just the smallest skid steers you can get just to get things going, much less a, you know, even the infrastructure the size of this, you know, for them to have meetings and stuff in and with televisions and, you know, things to have some training. I mean, 750 won't even touch it. I know for a fact. I can assure you it's 3 million plus before it ever got started. And I know that a general they give estimates just like your dentist. You go to a dentist, oh, Mr. McDonald, you know, to fix this little old thing in here, you know, well, this is estimate, you know, cost you $750, $800 for a root canal. Get your bill. Well, that was only $2,800. Wait a minute. You said that, well, that was just an estimate, Mr. McDonald. You know, this is now. What you gonna do? And that's the truth. And that's a reality. And I know. I've been there, done that.
And sir, that was one of my points that I had made when approving the amended budget was we'll approve the $750,000 part of our amended budget, but is this going to cost us more than that? And is this just the starting point?
And that's, yes, sir. And yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Bellini. And when you get to that point is, once you've went to, you know, this extreme, it's like me. I had an old truck a couple weeks back, and I took it down here to a place, and they said, oh, yeah, Dwight, it's going to cost you $850 with this and that. Now, you know, blah, blah, blah. So, you know what? I went to get it there. You know, they called me, and they said, well, but we got into it this far, but you need this and this and this and that. Damn.
And now you need
What's
it
that
because you
gonna
need your
cost?
vehicle, right?
Well, it's, you know, but you know, once you're in it that deep, you're either, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to call out here and just get them to junk it, or am I going to go on and pay the extra $800 more and get it on done?
And may I,
Well, that's what I did.
what's your name again, please, your last name?
Floyd Terwilliger.
Terwilliger?
Yes, sir.
Well, Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
Terwilliger, thank you. Thank you for your comments, and thank you for coming up and speaking your mind and your heart. I think that we're talking about two different things at this moment with the location and then the cost.
I don't believe we are. I'm talking about the location, where it is, and I'm talking about the cost of, regardless of where it is.
Right.
If somebody says that it's going to be this much, and
Yes,
they
sir.
start out with a set of plans,
Yes.
that's a minimum, and then it goes to that. But I understand where you're coming from, Ms. Roberts.
Well,
I appreciate you.
Thank you. But what I was trying to do is to respond to the first part, to your first set of questions, because the budget is a different thing. But with the location, if I can just share a little bit, since Commissioner Buffalini and I we were sworn in, it hasn't been 2 months yet. And this has come up in every conversation. And so to respond to what you were saying, I can't speak for every other BOC member. As you all may be aware, when we are not here with a microphone in front of us, we can't have conversations about things that we're voting on.
Yes, ma'am.
So I don't know the conversations that they've had, and I can't talk with them about it until we're here in front of you.
Yes, ma'am.
But I've had lots of conversations, and I can promise you I have tried in every possible way to figure out a different location.
Yes, ma'am.
Before I even pulled a petition, I believe I saw the rezoning signs, and I said, oh my goodness, what is going to be here? And tell you, I was relieved it wasn't another
Yes, ma'am.
development, right? So, oh, great. Okay, so that's not next to the park. And I think what Commissioner McDonald or Vice Mayor McDonald was trying to get to earlier was that if we put it somewhere else, people will be unhappy there. And if we
can't make everybody happy, ma'am.
This is true. And so here's the conundrum, though. So this is the thing. Like I mentioned, I've been trying to get creative. I've had lots of different conversations. I'm hanging in here. I'm looking you in the eye, and I'm trying to understand
Yes,
everything
ma'am.
you're saying.
And I appreciate you
But
very much.
we are very concerned about the cost of building this facility on land that we own. What do we do to keep our police trained? But we can't spend more money, which means we'd have to buy another piece of land
Ma'am,
to put it on. So do you understand, like, the budget issue is really
I get it.
constraining?
But I have a saying that Rhonda and I have talked about it a lot of times, and I know this may be getting off key, but Lord knows I could probably buy me a nice place down there on the beach in Panama City. I have no doubt in my mind about it. For sure. But when it comes down to it, I've thought about it a lot of times, and I thought, how many times do I really go down there or want to go down there? And then it hits me, and I think, well, you know what? I could just take that hit and just rent a place this week when I want to go down there. It won't cost me nowhere near as much. I don't have to worry about them HOAs. I don't have to worry about all this stuff. There are other places for our officers to go do their shooting and practicing and all that, whether it be over at Franklin at their range. I know Dixon County has a splendid place because I've took training over there, and I visit there quite often with Dixon County and Dixon police officer. I can go over there about whenever I want. I know Cheatham County on the game reserve over there has a pretty damn good place too, and it don't cost a dime.
Well, we have had conversations about those other locations because that's obvious, right?
It's like you. If I don't know your financial situation, it's none of my business. But like I said, yeah, I could probably go down there and buy me a nice little place down there and on the beach, but at the end of the day, if I ain't going down there all the time, well, it's like those saying goes with the cow. Why buy the cow when the milk is free?
Well, I'd like
And
to
I'm just taking old dumb
respond to
country
what
boy
you said.
response to it, but I don't think old dumb country boys mean a whole lot around this town much no more.
Commissioner Roberts, to piggyback on what you just said, why buy the cow when the milk is for free? So I did a little bit of homework, okay, because I knew this was going to come up this evening, and I asked our planning engineer, I said, how many properties does the city of Fairview currently own? Okay, he gave me a list. We have 20 pieces of property that we own here in Fairview, none of which we can put a facility on.
Why?
Because,
how many acres is it?
Because that's the problem. Either they're not big enough, or they already have facilities on them. So we can start right from the beginning. Highway 96, is being used for city use for our fire department. We have Deer Ridge Road, which is purchased and designated for future fire department for that side of our city when it needs to be. We have all of Bowie Hollow Road, Crocut, which is 357 acres, this is all Bowie Nature Park. Now, we also have some other areas, Dice Lampley Road, donated to the Bowie family. Okay, that's 23 acres. That's the part that we're talking about here. There's also 5 acres, which is all of this property we're standing on right now. So we do have properties, but if you're suggesting that we go to another location, it would cost us millions of dollars because we would have to purchase that property. And if you look now, the real estate is I came here from New York paying $13,000 a year in property taxes for an eighth of an acre.
Yeah.
Eighth of an acre. I have more.
Well, I'm glad you're here.
And now
Welcome
I have
to
less
Tennessee,
property
man.
here. I have less property here, and I'm saving a bundle of money on my taxes.
I think you've done pretty good. You're commissioner here in Fairview now, but I will say this, Commissioner Buffalini.
Sir.
This like out there at 96 North, I don't think that there's firemen are not up there every day. Why can't we put that, why couldn't that happen up there?
So that fire
Hell, I
facility
got
right
a little
now.
property over on 96. Shit, I might just give the city of Fairview some of it.
Well, so there we have it. So if you'd like to
I
do
could
that
do
and
that.
donate your property,
Hell, I'm a
we would
philanthropist.
gladly, and we'll even name it after you. We'll call it Terwilligers.
I don't want it named after me.
But that's what I'm saying is like I would love nothing more for myself
But
to
I'm
purchase
just
even
saying
2
that
acres.
they're
I can't
not
afford it.
up there, and I can assure you, like they put the single wide trailer up there on that property, I would never have been able to put it 2 properties south of 96, a single wide trailer on that property on 96.
Well, that single wide trailer is a temporary
Well, that's
for,
all
for
right,
Williamson
but I wouldn't have
County.
been able to do it as temporary because, hell, I would have. Shoot.
Yeah.
Man, I'd make a big trailer park out of that place I got over on 96 and make all kind of money. But there we go again.
Right.
All I'm saying is I just believe that where this is trying to go over there, bad idea. It's bad for it's bad for the community around there. It's bad for our livestock. I think it's bad for I think it's even bad for the builders that's even trying to bleed every damn penny out of this town that they can get around that part of the country. It's gonna kill us all over there. And that's about all I got to say about it.
Thank you very
Then
much,
thank
sir.
y'all.
And thank
And
you
I
for
appreciate
speaking.
it.
And before our next speaker talks, and Mayor, excuse me if I'm out of line, but does anyone have anything else to say other than this other than this facility that we can hear from somebody else? Because we've spent over an hour talking about it, which I'll stay all night. I will
sure
stay
sorry
all night.
to spend
I'm good with
everybody's
that.
time on it, but I feel like in the last 20 probably plus years of me paying taxes around here, between now and the last time I was over here, it's the only time that I've ever had anything to do up here, and I feel like that I've paid my dues
Absolutely.
to say what the hell I wanted to think I wanted to say.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
by God, I voted all those years.
Absolutely. I'm no disrespect to you. I'm just asking if somebody else had something else to comment on other than this, because I'll stay all night and listen. I have no problem with that. I can't speak to the other commissioners, but I do want to hear from other citizens that came here to discuss other items. And I know that there are other people that do want to discuss this one item, which I'm all for it, but I do want to give other people the opportunity to discuss other issues as well.
Regarding Fairview Boulevard. So with all the growth that's coming into Fairview, are there plans to retrofit or do something with Fairview Boulevard so it's not as congested as it is now?
So that is you want to take that one?
Yeah, I meet with TDOT, I feel like weekly. So basically, the way it works, because of the size of our community, we are considered a town and not a city. We do not have enough citizens to allot us federal grant money. So we have been put off the 10-year plan to widen Highway 100, Fairview Boulevard. And what I'm working on right now is to make sure that we have turn lanes all the way through that are not spotty. I'm working on that as hard as I can, pushing all the people that can make the decisions so that at least we can have that, because until we get to a certain number, they've realigned the number, and until we get to that number, they're not even going to put us on the 10-year plan for widening 100. But if you notice, if you go to Bowie Nature Park and you pull out, there's no turn lane. So I'm there at the codes department a lot. So when I pull out, I'm just waiting, and and that's what happens. And but if you pull out, say from City Hall, there's a turn lane, and people in Fairview are very nice. So I pull out to make a left-hand turn. My mother's down at the Pearl, and a lot of times when I leave here, I'm going down there to see her. So I'm making a left. You make a right, it's not that bad. If you make a left, you have to get out there. So go into that turning lane, and then people are nice and let you over. So I just feel like,
I understand that, but it just
Yeah.
gets so backed up.
well,
when
and
you're
it does,
waiting.
it does, and we've got to understand that a lot of people think it's from just Fairview growing, but what you've got to understand is we've got Nashville here, and we've got Fairview, Lyles, Bonacqua, Hickman, Dixon, Centerville, and all those places are growing, including Dixon a lot. And if they're going into Nashville, especially if we have like a wreck on Interstate 40, and I speak about this all the time, Highway 100, Fairview Boulevard becomes Interstate 40. So the people who need to know this, they know this. But I'm working hard at least just to have a continual turning lane. And we also, with our sidewalk project, they've looked at it, and we do have room for that. It's not something where they're going to put a sidewalk in, we're going to put a turn lane in, and we have to readjust.
Yeah.
That doesn't, we've got enough room for a turn lane all the way through 100, through Fairview.
With some of the new commercial or multi-resident things that are being approved, is it in part of the budget or agreement that they have to put money into infrastructure
So-
so that money can be allotted
I just
to
want to clarify
improvements?
something for you. I don't know if you're aware of this, and it might have just been that assumed, but that road is state-owned. It's not a Fairview road. I don't know if you're aware of that, but everything that the mayor was discussing is referring to TDOT making that we're kind of handcuffed to them, and whether they want to make the improvements to that road. Even if we had all the money, we could only say to TDOT, we will give you this money if you would do this project for us, but we don't have the authority to go out and widen 100.
Okay, so it has to come from federal.
Yeah, and that's what I was, when I
State
refer
level.
to TDOT,
Well, federal
it's
grants,
state,
I
it's
guess,
not
for
federal,
state
it's state.
projects. Oh,
But when I
okay.
refer to TDOT, Tennessee Department of Transportation, they're in charge of our Fairview Boulevard, and we can't make decisions for them. And that's why I say, when I'm reaching out to them, if we could just have a continual turning lane, that would be something better than what we have right now.
Yeah, okay.
And
Thanks for your time.
regarding development, we absolutely do. So any development that's going to have traffic impact on that road, or any road for that matter, there's traffic studies that are completed, and those traffic studies determine if improvements are required or not. Now, we can't, of course, we always say that the improvements are needed, right? But unfortunately, there's traffic studies that set a baseline and determine on whether or not that's actually factual or not. And if the traffic studies require them to add a turn lane, which you see like the one across the street here, they've recently put a turn lane in. So it is discussed with every development that impacts our roads.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me know, I'll drive back and forth a bunch of times when you put that. Sheila Cook, 7422 Swindon Boulevard, Fairview. Different topics. So is TP, this is the TPUDC, if I
UDC,
have that
yeah.
right? The companies to do the codes? Okay. So we contracted them, I believe, to write city codes, correct? So who in Fairview is like reviewing that? They give it to us? I'm trying to figure out the steps here.
So we just, 2 weeks ago, I think roughly, we got the first draft of what will be our new zoning regulations. There will be multiple review back and forth with them before we get to what the final product will look like. We have Ethan Greer, our city planner, has put a committee together of a handful of individuals that work in that area of expertise to have their input to where they will review it, because ultimately they're going to be, not all of them are developers or builders, but some of them are, because they live in that stuff, and most developers, most builders aren't exclusively doing business in Fairview, so they see what works in other cities, what doesn't work in other cities, so they bring that input. So that's all being taken into consideration. But absolutely, there will be multiple back and forth before we get to a final
There's a
draft.
committee. How many's on the committee or whatever?
Not sure exactly, 5-ish, I think. I don't know. if it-
Ethan Greer, our entire planning staff, and 1, 2, 3, one real estate agent, 3 developers, and myself.
Okay. And I get, I guess, real estate and developers to a point.
And I have architecture engineering of 20 years experience, and that's one helpful thing, so.
Okay. And I guess real estate and developers I
Well,
get,
he's real estate and development, so both.
but who's that?
Brandon Butler.
Who was
He
on the
used to be
planning,
on the board,
he was
yeah.
on the planning
Yeah.
commission for, I think, 10
Yes.
years, and then on the board for the last,
And-
on the BOC for the last 4. So I would imagine that he has a knowledge of our current zoning regulations as good, if not better, than any single one individual in this city. So, I mean, he's an ideal individual to be looking at that.
And I've
Okay.
been on the planning commission for 13 years, so
Okay.
same.
And once y'all look at it and I guess you decide, go back and forth.
So the committee will review it, and then once it goes through the committee, we're looking at it right now as a board. But once it goes through the committee, then it will come to the board, and we will have to approve as a board this document.
Yeah, I guess we should add, that committee is in addition to
Right,
the
in
5 of
addition
us,
to the
as
5
well,
of
I
us.
believe the planning commission members will have opportunities for input, and then ultimately, this board will have to adopt that document, so we will have, our input will be considered
Is there
as
any
well.
like Codapalooza citizen feedback, or is this like y'all just kind of shove it down our
No,
throat? and this is what it is?
they will eventually hold, correct me if I'm wrong, but they will have a public where they go through it and have a discussion and present it to us. at some
That is
point.
my understanding,
Yeah.
yes.
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 The committee will meet, and then discussion, community will be involved, and we'll be looking this document over. When it's discussed in meetings, the community is at the meetings.
Is that where we come up and say a few things and then we have to shut up, or is it like this town hall?
I imagine.
sorry, I stay home for
Okay,
those 'cause
I
I
imagine
can't-
in this whole process, I can look it up, but we'll have another town hall.
Okay, okay. All right then.
When
And
we-
will it be announced, like give people enough, I guess, notice, a week or two to really look at it, not like, here's 1 week to look at this? It's a lot of stuff, I'm sure.
I would
so-
imagine it'll be discussed pretty heavily
Okay,
throughout almost every meeting until we officially adopt it. It'll probably be at some point of the discussion where we're at with that, what's up next, that type of thing. I mean, the review process of once they go through it, like anything, the first draft has a lot of, I mean, you got to whittle it down to get your final product. So those discussions will happen. As Mr. Roberts said, we can't speak about it with each other outside of the meeting, so we'll have those conversations in public or in public meetings, I would imagine.
Well, and about your opportunity to respond, I'm sorry, I thought you were done.
No,
So,
that's
yeah.
fine. Go
Okay,
ahead.
cool. We want your feedback. So please do come to those meetings, and please do share your insights, and please be here for that. So there's
I'm not out of the country, I will, so.
well, I like to hear all the different perspectives,
Yeah.
even if they are somewhat challenging at times, because it makes us do our best work. So
I'll ask a lot of questions, not because I disagree or agree, it's just like when I did in my job, to understand.
I've
So-
got a copy of it at home. It's about this thick.
Yeah, so
I
you
would
need-
be happy if you want to grab a coffee one morning and thumb through it or anything. I'd be more than happy to sit down with you if you'd like to take a look at it.
And how does that, I catch it pretty fast, but how does that go with like Well, Mr. Hall said they did like some kind of, is this rewriting that where they said this is where we want the city to be?
We are-
Is this the future?
We
kinda
are
that you're
taking
talking about?
our old zoning regulations and
Okay.
throwing them in the trash can and starting from, this is completely
Okay.
from scratch,
starting
completely. It is gonna be more focused on the final product, the appearance of everything, the actual visual of what we want our city to look like as more development comes our way. The overall layout, do we want residential developments to have driveways that are leading straight to the front of the house? Do we want to have side entry? Do we have rear entry?
Where the
all
trees
that
are
stuff.
between the sidewalk and the
Trees.
streets, kind of like the
Yes,
girls.
there's a lot more with tree retention on
Yeah.
residential development, depending on the density. It's a lot more detailed. And to anybody who is a proponent of slowing growth, I think that this new zoning regulations, regardless of how it ends up looking, will ultimately do that just by design, by just it's so much, the minutia of it is so much more detailed. It will require a slower pace, I guess I should say.
And I guess part of it's like when you were talking, I don't know what happened to when they were gonna put in a grocery store, a
Yeah,
restaurant and something.
over by
hotel.
Jefferson's?
Yeah, something, yeah. I haven't
That-
heard any more about that, so it's gonna, I guess, will it say like a full, and not some builder or developer, a full like traffic pattern? a
Yeah, it
complete
takes into the
one,
bigger.
a
It's
stoplight or
it's much more
whatever.
big picture.
Okay.
Than, so you don't have this development wanted to look like this, and this development then looks completely different, but technically they're within the guidelines of our regulations, which we do have a lot of that right now. I mean, the regulations that we have, they work, but there is a lot of issues with them.
Yeah.
They've been kind of pieced together throughout the years. It's a good, my opinion is only one opinion, but I think it's a good idea that what we're doing, where we're taking it all and rewriting it to where it's a lot more consistent from front
Have a
to
good
back.
plan, and
Mhm.
do we need to loop around Fairview to solve the 100? I'm just kidding.
Not yet.
Get some of that more
And also the-
land donated, we might just do that.
The next town hall is May 29th, so we're not going to be finished with this before then. So if anybody looks over that document, which is 480-plus pages, they can bring questions to that town hall and discuss it.
So Mayor, I have a question, since it was brought up about this commission. I was unaware of this commission that has been made. I don't know if this has been made recently or in the past, I don't know.
I mean, the committee.
I'm sorry, the committee. Who designated this committee?
Ethan put it together.
Ethan put it together, yeah.
Okay.
I think Ethan just wanted to have external input, because more eyes are better.
All right, so here's another question, and with all due respect, why are you on this commission?
I didn't ask to be on it. I was chosen just because of
committee?
my architectural and engineering background. And I was on the I've been on the planning commission for 13 years.
So because you're on this committee, none of us can attend these meetings because of the sunshine law.
You can attend, you just can't,
Speak
yes.
or interact or anything.
Right.
Same thing like staff meetings, we can't attend those because
Right.
you attend the staff meetings. So
Right.
we're not allowed to attend staff meetings. Okay.
Hello, my name is Erin Dubose. I live at 7075 Dice Lampley Road. I'm a county resident. I live on the back side of Bowie Nature Park by the proposed gun police range site. Some of this is a reiteration, but I do know through Facebook this has gotten a lot of attention and a lot of people are watching from home. The neighbor and property owners were notified of this gun range the end of August of 2024, a few months back, when we received certified letters and signs went up because of the height ordinance request from 35 feet to 50 feet. On September 10th, and since, we have the residents around this area have spoken our concerns. None of our questions or concerns have been answered. We have only experienced a rush vote to approve a $750,000 budget for the approved deal with no in-budget in sight. I think he said 1.3 million. Yes. And the loophole to change the city ordinance on the height restrictions for the tower was done after it was voted down no. I have safety concerns, noise concerns, quality of life will be affected, property value will decrease, but that's the least of my concerns. The values of our homes will drop, that's a fact. The insanity of this is that this is on donated park property. This property, by definition, is different than the other Bowie properties that were donated because it was donated as an annex to the park, an addition to the park. It is different than the other properties. Old timers, we all remember the Bowie properties all over town, the hoarded up houses, everything. This was a wonderful donation from these sisters, and their deed had restrictions to it. This is part of the park, even though you were on the committee, Mayor, to put it in the land trust and it was left out. It is a part of the park. In the Bowie deed restrictions, it states that the flora and the nature must be preserved and protected. In 2006, the then BOC did vote for approval for a gun range. But you left something out when you mentioned that, Vice Mayor, that people spoke up and fought it. Or we would have had a gun range in 2007, 2000, there'd be shooting
I
over
just
there all the
simply
time.
read the minutes as
I
written.
understand, but a half-truth
wasn't
is as
present.
good as a lie.
Ma'am, I wasn't lying. Don't accuse
No,
me of that,
you
please. I read the
said-
minutes in full
Oh, I
as
kn- no,
recorded.
Well, you said that they voted, but you did not bring up the fact that it was opposed and that the people fought it and that they won.
That was not recorded in the minutes, ma'am. I don't have any knowledge of that. I wasn't
Okay.
present. In 2006,
All
I
right.
was at Purdue University.
So you chose
I don't know
a
what to
piece
tell
of
you.
information and put it out
I
there.
read the minutes in full.
I know what you did.
In full.
So, we fought this. Let me just say, in the short period of time, in 2006, when the police were shooting over there, it greatly affected quality of life. It was horrible. My mother, who is now in heaven, went around along with Jackson and the other neighbors and had people sign a petition. The people spoke up. This city had no right to put a gun range on that due to the deed restrictions. So what did we do 2 years later in '08? We leave it out of the land trust, okay? And let me just tell you that when there was the Christmas parade in the park, I could sit on my front porch and hear Mariah Carey over and over and over, okay? The music from the park, and you don't think gunshots are going to be heard in the nature park? I mean, that's, so I just want you to know that when we came in September, after, you know, the neighbors received notarized or certified letters from the city, the last week of August, September, and signs went up over the variance for the height, the 30 feet to 50 feet. We had no clue about the gun range. No clue. And when we came September 10th, and since then, we were told it's a done deal. It's a done deal. We put it in the Observer in 2021 when we pushed it through. What happened to the history? What happened to the history there that you had no right? You still have no right to put a gun range on that. Just because the city owns it, there's some ethical questions, you know, that really truly need to be answered. And not all of you, because some of you are new, but truly some ethical questions. So again, I have legitimacy about putting a gun range on this property. Our concerns, again, never addressed. Just a budget pushed through real fast and an ordinance and everything done hurriedly. Since our last meeting, yeah, there's lots of orange tape up now. Trees have been circled. They're busy. They're doing stuff. They're working hard to push the agenda. Let me just tell you that. My husband tells me constantly not to attribute to malice what can be attributed to ignorance. At first, I thought that our sitting mayor and some previous board members were not aware of the history of this battle that has been going on for 20 years. But after your comments about how the police maybe needed to be protected from the county residents shooting their guns and the information that was left out, I do think there's some malice. You know, okay, a half-truth. I ask that you not spend another dime on this proposal. I beg of you to please stop and halt your construction and everything that you're trying to do. This is an addition to the park. You know, I believe it's still the same, but last I heard, Bowie Nature Park was the second largest city-ran park in the U.S. Central Park was the first. That's a huge achievement. That is a wonderful thing for our town. But by going against the Bowie deed restrictions, you know, you stand to forfeit Bowie Nature Park to Williamson County. You stand to lose it. You have a battle coming if this does not stop. This will not cease, that you're trying to put a gun range right next to a huge city, to this nature park is absolutely ridiculous. And that the city has been trying to do it now for 20 years. You can't rewrite history. You cannot. You have absolutely no right to put a gun range on this property. And, you know, that's all I have to say. I've got a 14-year-old that needs help with homework at home. I have never wanted to come up here and stand. City issues are not supposed to be my problem. I choose to live outside the county. My home insurance is higher because my fire protection class, all that, and I accept that. That's what I want, the peace and the quiet. No, there aren't people, it's not the OK Corral out there with the neighbors. We respect each other. There's not gunshots going off all the time, so you can bury that. We really do respect nature out there. It's a great community, but we are county residents. I don't get to vote for you. You know, this panel is not, when I go to vote, you're not there. I vote county. Why the county has to deal with this city's mess and continual grab to use this property for something it shouldn't be used, it needs to cease. It needs to stop. Or you're going to lose the park or you're going to have a huge lawsuit. Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
Marshall Walker, 7229 Northwest Highway, and thank you for your very passionate. Appreciate you guys doing this town hall as well, so commissioners. I too live in the county, so I feel like we have a theme going on here. Mayor Anderson and other commissioners, if you want to speak to this, how does it feel to have the state be in control of something that affects you as a city with Highway 100?
Frustrating.
Yes. That's how we feel on Northwest Highway. The city annexed Northwest Highway many years ago. I could be completely wrong about this. I think Commissioner Hall, I think maybe you were a part of the commission back then. I could be wrong. I know nobody else here was. But it was annexed into the city. And so you have a whole strip of people. Yes, sir.
I was here, but I wasn't on the board when it was annexed.
Okay. Were you the
No, sir.
city manager?
No, sir. I'd done my term, and I didn't run in 2008, so I didn't.
Okay.
They annexed the board after I resigned my commission seat.
Okay. So none of you guys were here when that happened. So the city annexed Northwest Highway. So we have a whole strip of neighbors and people that have no say, and we've actually been told by previous members of the board, basically to sit down and shut up, that we don't have a say because we're not city residents. But everything, all of the decisions that you guys make with all of the developments and everything affect us, affects our way of life, affects the things that we were doing with walking and jogging and running and all of the things. So my question is, with all of the new zoning requirements, do we have anything? I'm not aware of anything with traffic calming measures. Do we have, as a city, do we have any kind of policies in place, or are there any thoughts or plans on doing any kind of traffic calming measures for? And I think my little specific world is Northwest Highway. So I love that community. I love the people there. I love the area. I love the countryside. Everything about it is completely changing. And we had nobody listened to anything that we tried to say about that. But my question is, are there any, so it's not just going to affect Northwest Highway, it's going to affect, I think the lady that talked earlier about Highway 100, I think it affects a lot of neighborhoods, a lot of the development and everything that's going on around the city. So if something is not in place, I would highly recommend us looking at doing some traffic calming policies and looking at having some things, some traffic calming measures. I've talked to the Planning Commission. There's a young gentleman that was just added to the Planning Commission that has some experience with that. So do you guys, are you aware of any talks with the rezoning that's going on? I know a lot of energy and time and commitment is going into that right now. Are there any talks to do anything, not just with Northwest Highway, but just in general with neighborhoods, to have any traffic calming measures? Are you guys aware of anything, or have there been any talks?
Northwest Highway is going to be, it's on the plan to be improved. And then traffic calming would be the speed limit.
That doesn't matter. You can do a traffic
It may not
study.
matter, but there's, I've spoken that you cannot use speed bumps, stuff like that. That it's not allowed to
Why
do
not?
that. It's just traffic calming measures are not,
It's our city. We can do, I mean, well, it's
Well-
not my city anymore, but the people want it. I've actually surveyed almost 100% of the people that live on Northwest Highway, and I can make it official and get a petition and get it signed. And not only that, but I've also talked to a lot of the people that jog and run and walk their dogs, everything from all of the neighborhoods that connect to it right now, Polston Place, Mary Susan, Lincoln Park. I've talked to almost every single person that lives on Northwest Highway, and we all want something done. And we don't have any say because we're not in the city. And you guys just keep saying the same thing. We do. I've talked to Tom Doherty, the city manager, multiple times about how this road's going to be improved. It was going to be last September, then it was going to be this spring. When is that going to happen? You know, we are paying property taxes. Some of us do have property that got annexed into the city, so we are paying city taxes, and we don't have a vote because we don't live on that property, but it got annexed. So a lot of people, like the gentleman that spoke earlier, today, his property got annexed into the city, so he's paying thousands of dollars in city property taxes, but doesn't have a say. So we have that. So I've talked to everybody. My vision, I would love to have a really nice boulevard through Northwest Highway. And Mary Anderson, you'd probably get sick of me saying it. You know, I think we should change the name from Northwest Highway. It's not a highway. It is a collector road at best. I would love to get it changed so that people, because I've gotten out there with a baseball radar gun, and the average speed is way more than the speed limit. So if we can't control the speed limit now, how in the world are we going to be able to control it when there's 1,000 more homes on that neighborhood? My wife almost got killed the other day by one of the developers who was looking at his phone while he was driving when she was out walking the dog in the morning. So is it going to take somebody getting killed for you guys to really want to do something besides just say, oh, we can't do anything? I've talked to every single neighbor on Northwest Highway. Why can't we do speed cushions? It's a real question, not a rhetorical
Yeah, no, with
question.
all due respect, I completely respect your position, and apologize on behalf of the city for the situation your wife experienced. I mean, obviously, we don't encourage speeding or, not abiding by the speed limits that are set on the roads within our city. I mean, law enforcement, they can't be everywhere all the time.
Exactly.
We can encourage them to make it a point to
I've-
police that.
Excuse me, I've talked to Tom many times on the phone, and he gives me the same thing. He's like, "Oh yeah, people call
I
us all
can't
the
speak
time."
for Tom. I'm just trying to
I
give
know,
you my.
I'm just saying.
If I may.
We
Just, I, in regards to the speed limits, I think there's certain roads, right, when you're planning out a city, and unfortunately, I'm sure there's hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals in this community that would have recommendations to solve their problems. And I'm not saying that your problem's not a respectable problem to have. I'm not trying to downplay that at all. But speed limit or speed bumps on certain roads that are more of collector roads, higher traffic than side roads. It's just not, our planner would be able to speak to this, but you wouldn't put speed bumps on Highway 100 if people just were ignoring our speed limits.
Correct. Northwest Highway is not Highway 100.
No, but it is one of the more used roads in our community to
It's
get
about to
from
be a
90s.
lot, and it's about to be a lot more.
Correct. And there are, as much as time has passed, and I agree, I would love to see things move faster than they are when it comes to the improvements in that location. There's a handful of reasons. There's property acquisition, there's surveying, there's a lot of things that have to take place. We have partnership with the developer that is, once they start doing what they're doing, they're donating, or not donating, but contributing a significant portion of money that's going towards that project. So there's just variables at play. Once those align, that happens. I know this isn't the answer you want to hear.
No, it's
and
not,
it's not the
because-
answer I want to give you, but I'm
because
going to give
that
you the
affects
most
it.
honest answer I can give you, and that might not be what you want to hear, but I'm not going to lie to you as I'm accused of doing, apparently. So I don't want to tell you something just to make you feel good. I'm trying to give you as honest of an answer as I can possibly give you.
Get you. And I haven't accused you of
No, I haven't. No, you have not. That's correct.
But that's all well and good, but again, the developer, you put sidewalks in that neighborhood, that's his property, that he can do what he wants to. He's gonna get sidewalks. It still completely leaves the rest of us that live in that area, that's our community, that we don't have a say, and, we would like to see something done. Everybody I talk to has said, man, that the traffic is an issue. And so I just wanna know, why can't you guys can do what you want to do. And so you obviously approve the developments without any foresight about what you're gonna do with the traffic. And you have full control over what you can do. You don't have to follow Nashville's traffic calming policy. You don't have to follow Franklin's. We are Fairview. You can do what you want. You can make Northwest Highway a calmer traffic. It doesn't matter if it is a main thoroughfare. The traffic is a windy road. People should not be going 45, 50 miles an hour down that road. And like I said, so I don't understand why we can't do something like that without looking at it first. So, and it's not just Northwest Highway. Again, I think this is going to affect other neighborhoods as well besides just Northwest Highway. So even if I don't get my way, which is not just my way, there's a whole neighborhood of people that would love to see something with that. Now, and realistically, I know we've talked about budget and things like that, and I would love to encourage everybody. Is this on film tonight?
It
Are we
is.
on YouTube?
Yes.
I would encourage everybody, during the approval of the budget I think there was maybe 4 people here. So I would just encourage all of you and everybody watching this tonight, if you have any concerns about the city budget, come to the meetings, especially at the approval. So everybody show up. This room ought to be full.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
And you know that I know this area very
Yes, I
well. My ability to run out to 96 and back to my house is greatly hindered, and I have to be really, really careful about when I go. And Ms. Deb, I'm sorry that happened. Unfortunately, that's been happening for the past several years. As more people come in, traffic goes higher and people do fly down that road. And now there are major developments being built right at the heavy curves on that specific road with no road improvements. So I know this is not helpful and it's not fixing anything, but I see it and I think that it is a small microcosm of the larger issue at hand in Fairview and then in the general region altogether. Knowing what I know about the order of these developments and how they will change, Northwest Highway is about to change.
Yes.
And so the entire direction that traffic will go on that road will change. So when we do any kind of repaving, which is the only improvement I know of on Northwest Highway right now, it will also kind of be outdated when the next road goes through and it gets straightened out. I'm hoping that helps some because that road will be going through a neighborhood, and I pray that people are not going to go 50 miles an hour through a neighborhood. But you know as well as I do that that also means that there's going to be that many more vehicles. And so we also know, unfortunately, the people who are doing that speed probably live somewhere off of Northwest Highway. And so I think that we do have to be more cognizant that there are people out there walking and running and maybe a loose dog or a loose horse or something out there too. You don't know what's around those corners. So with my unsatisfactory response, where I'm basically commiserating with you and telling you that there's still some more change coming that'll even change the road, I hear you, and I also am very invested in getting this solved to some extent. There is a reason that I decided to run and to be on the Board of Commissioners, and this is one of those things. My entire quality of life changed when things started developing and Northwest Highway became an actual highway. And so I do want to help with that. So as small comfort as it may be, I want to say that you have new ears that are listening, and we are going to continue to try. And that's no disrespect to anybody you've spoken with before, but with new people, you've got new thoughts and perhaps motivations, and we'll see what we can do about that. No promises today, except that we're going to continue to look into this and keep trying. And you know where I am, so
I do.
yes. So we can walk and talk about it sometime too.
And I appreciate that, and I appreciate all of you letting us, even those of us that live in the county, to have at least get up here and talk. So I do appreciate that. I do think that we should be able to do what we want to for that. So if you guys wanted to look at that, knowing, I love the fact that you brought up with one of the previous people that they were thinking of at least solutions. There's all kinds of, we do bike lanes, we can do sidewalks, things that's going to take a lot. That would be a lot more expensive. And I would think if we can't even afford to build the things that are, I would say some people would say more important with budgeting, things like that, that's never going to happen. We can't even get it paved right now in the road. So I very seriously doubt we could ever do that. I've gotten up here and talked about, like, I would even give away right away from my property for more width of the road. If caveat, if they were going to put in something like a bike lane along on that for that, I'd be the first one to line up and do that. But I can't see the city ever, being able to afford a wider road or be able to afford bike lanes and sidewalks all the way down Northwest Highway. Probably not realistic. To me, the speed cushions are the most realistic. It's only $5,000 per speed cushion, and you could do it when you're paving the road. So that's just what I had. I appreciate the thoughts and questions, so thank you for this time.
So about 2 years ago, and you don't have to stand there if you don't want. So about 2 years ago, I attended a meeting, and they were talking about Northwest Highway, and everyone was just ranting off names, and I said one name. I don't know if anyone remembers, Northwest Way. Just drop the high, and it gives you a different satisfaction level. But on another note, so I was actually contacted recently, actually yesterday when I attended an event last night here in Fairview, that there's speeders on Grammar Drive and Robertson off of Cumberland Drive. Now, I live in Cumberland Estates. We've had speeders coming through Cumberland Estates, and I don't know if anyone's ever been through Cumberland Estates. We have two outlets now, but it's just a big U shape, and we have one thoroughfare it's pretty long and wide, but these kids, they just come and they speed through here, and we have a speed limit of 35 miles an hour. Now, I don't know, I think it's 45 miles an hour on Northwest Highway. It's 35. There are state legalities as to Actually, I don't even know if do we determine the speed limits on streets like that?
No.
So,
There's-
is it the state?
There's legalities as to if it's in a neighborhood, if it's on a highway. I think our board at one point lowered 45 to 35, and we made that decision. But as far as, traffic calming measures, there's many that are not allowed. And, we can look into that and see how that can be changed. But right now, they're not allowed. So it's not this board who makes that decision. So right now it's state regulated. And
I think that's something that we can definitely look into and not let it go. And like you said, you said that you live outside the county, you have no say. Sir, you were up here talking, and we're here listening to you. And that's one of the things that I've also said when I was running for this position is I get that people live outside the city limits, and you're voting. They're voting for me to be in the city. I'm a city citizen, and now on the board, voted by citizens that live in the city limits. But I want to hear from everyone that lives outside as well. I've had conversations with the Brungers, with his brother. I want to listen to, even if you're outside the city. I want to hear you. And by you getting up and speaking here, even if you live outside of the city limits, we're listening to you. We hear you. We hear all the problems that everyone has. We hear you. There's certain things that we can and can't do as a board. And this gives us an opportunity, having a town hall, to have these open dialogues, because normally we can't have open dialogue. And I think we should do more town halls, but that's just me. Who am I? I'm one of 5. And I appreciate listening to everyone. And I do thank everyone that's come up here to speak. Mr. Terwilliger, I mean, you were very passionate about what you had said, and trust me, we appreciate that. Yeah, so just know that we hear you. We hear you. We're not prior boards or anything like that. We're a new board, and I can assure you that we're going to do our best for the city and for the surrounding communities as well. There's a lot of new construction going on, and sir, with the speed cushions or speed bumps, we put those down in Cumberland Estates for about 2 days. And then we had the police knocking on our doors saying, those cannot be here. And they cited, they didn't cite us, but they let us know the rules about it. We bought it off the internet, and they were like just nice speed bumps. They weren't ugly or nothing. We just tried, because our kids play in the streets. And to have streets like that with people speeding down it, and I can only imagine what it's like on Northwest Way. I can only imagine what it's like on Northwest Highway, honestly, because I don't travel that road for those reasons. I've traveled it at night, and I've almost got run off the road, especially on certain areas where it gets very windy and then hilly down by the and I'm sorry about that. There's only so much that we can do, and I know our police department, they're all over the place. I know that, and I know we've made the complaints in Cumberland Estates, and they've been patrolling more often, and we do appreciate that, but we can't take them off of other things that they have to prioritize their services to as well. But thank you for speaking, and just, we hear you.
Mayor,
yes.
Commissioner Dunn, I believe our speed limit's 25 in Cumberland Estates instead
Well,
of
and we
35.
did add a stop sign.
That's my next point.
Yeah.
We have a stop sign
Yeah.
on that main road he was talking about. I
Right.
hope y'all can hear me. There might be a possibility we can look into it on Northwest and see if we can put a stop sign in there, maybe slow them down in the main straightaway. Look at it somewhere in there that we might put a stop sign and see what that would happen, see if that would help. So and it has helped in Cumberland Estates where that one stop sign is. Don't you agree, Mr. Don?
Absolutely, and especially like that's almost in front of our commissioner's house as well. So that all this speeding was happening, and like I said, a lot of kids are playing, and I know they're not playing on Northwest Highway, but there's a lot of people there. There's horses crossing. I've seen that. cows get loose, anything can happen.
Well,
And people just need to slow down.
They do. Not to hang on to this too much, but there's a stop sign at Dice Lampley and Northwest Highway that people blow through all the time. I've almost been taken out a few times. So, did they? I know who to call now. And so stop signs are probably not going to fix it on Northwest Highway, but we'll definitely look more into that. That's already on my list of things. But yes, it's a problem, but I was just doing a little quick research, and I feel like we could probably look into this more and see.
And that might be a good spot for an officer to maybe sit
I mean,
there.
just, I'll tell you what car I drive, just to, I'm kidding. Just don't stop that one. Yeah, no, you're right. It would be very nice to have somebody out there.
Ma'am, sorry to delay you.
That's okay. My name is Colleen Van Vossen, and I live at 7801 Pinecrest Court in the city of Fairview. And I am going to drag you back to that topic of the law enforcement gun range. And so there have been a number of people who spoke already about it very passionately. And one citizen who presented a lot of history. I do recall when there was quite a bit of kerfuffle about little pieces of it, I think, were being snipped off to do this, to do that. And then finally it was put in the Tennessee Land Trust. And I understand, or I perceive that it is a desire of the city to build a law enforcement training facility on the one piece of land that they do own, irregardless of the fact that it was apparently deeded as a nature preserve with restrictions on the deed. I'm not aware of whatever restrictions may or may not be on the deed. But I would like to encourage some creative thinking. There was a statement earlier that the city owns 21 different pieces of property across the city. How about a land swap? How about what other creative things? How about locating the Law Enforcement Training Academy out near the industrial park on Highway 96, where there's very few residences? What about that property that was going to be used for this big music entertainment something that has fallen through? You know, what about those things? And I'm glad that the gentleman spoke about the $750,000 allocation to a particular line item that's been set up. I don't think that you could move the dirt around for $750,000 and connect water and sewer and move the dirt around and do a site survey you would be done with your $750,000. And then you talk about new codes coming in of how we want things to look. I wouldn't want to see some tin barn looking building as our law enforcement training academy. I would want to see a law enforcement training academy up on Highway 96 near the industrial park with landscaping and be something that would be an attraction. You have to recruit law enforcement officers. And once you get them here and you train them, you want to keep them. A good training facility like that would help. I understand that. But the where you want to put it is the totally wrong place. And where are you going to get the money to buy land? Get creative. Everybody wants to develop. What does the city have that they could give up to get some cash out of somebody to buy some land? Where there's a will, there's a way, and I've seen that exercised before. So I would encourage you to be creative about thinking about how to find another site for that endeavor. And it was about 8:50 when I got up here, so I was going to leave at 8. But I reckon this is about to wind up, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
ma'am.
Colleen.
Please don't shut down. I've driven 6 hours to be here. Okay? And
We're
I'm-
wide awake. I've got caffeine.
We're not going to
good.
shut down. You
long
go
as we
ahead and
need to
talk.
be.
And I'm sorry, I'm not coming to you and saying that I don't want to speak about the gun range. I do. Because and my lovely wife, we're the owners that the rifle range is pointed at. So we are the landowners that would probably be the most impacted. And my name is Earl Lampley.
Okay.
My current address is 49 Secluded Pond Road, Cleveland, Georgia. If you want my zip code and you want to talk to me, I'll give it to you individually, even my telephone numbers. But the last time I was here, I wanted to ask a lot of questions. Okay? And the city attorney was sitting there and he said, "You can't ask questions." I said, "Okay." So I said, "Who could I submit them to?" Never got an answer. So this is wonderful that I can actually ask questions. But didn't know I was going to be able to ask those questions today. So I wrote out a statement. And I'll read that first. And if you guys will give me some time, I'll ask some questions. Is that okay? All right.
We're ready.
I'll try to get this where everybody can hear me. I'd like to thank you because I wanted to have the chance to talk to you, especially since we have 2 new board members. And I appreciate a lot of the comments that you've had tonight. I can tell that you have a fresh look at this. But I'm here to confirm wholeheartedly that I oppose this development. You have planned at this location. I've made multiple trips to attend the meetings, and I was hoping to change the outcome of your plans. It appears that your body has not considered any of the feedback from so many of the people in the community, because you continue to move forward without making any modifications that I have been able to see. And I will say I was sent a registered letter with a proposed design that was fairly old, and I would like to get a new one. Your decision to move forward with that at this site will impact property owners' values anywhere around this facility, and those will be generational impacts. If you look at just my property, it's a small 15-acre plot, but with a gun range shooting into that 15-acre plot, my property values have plummeted. It's not necessarily a big deal to me and Priscilla. It's a big deal to our children. And many of the other reasons that were communicated with this board by multiple people, the Brunkers have researched and known so much and shared so much. You probably should listen to a lot that they have to say. But it doesn't seem to impact what you guys do. And the last meeting I attended, it was brought up earlier, the board voted to not approve a 50-foot tower because the citizens came, encouraged them not to do it, and they voted no. Lisa, tell me. It was.
Right. So the Board of Zoning Appeals voted no.
The zoning appeals, which our city attorney said it should have never gone before them because it wasn't appropriate, but they did not.
So you brought us up for the wrong board meeting. Okay, all right. I'm okay with that. That's an okay. So after that, you did come together, this board, because I even watched the video on that one, and you changed what the other board agreed to not approve. And so now on any property that you guys decide to build anything, with those rules in place, it'll allow you, and I want to see if we can get a plaque put on, if something ever goes up on that property, I'd like to see a plaque, the Fairview Tower of Babel. And if you don't know what that is, I suggest you look it up. But the biggest thing that I wanted to say is I urge you to do the honorable thing and start being open, not just with people that you send registered letters, but with all of the community. Be truthful and honest. Publish your plans. Have the plans that the engineering firm have gotten in place so far, have they been published for the city to see, like in the newspaper?
Do you mean for the police training facility? Is that what you mean?
Mm-hmm.
There aren't plans ready to go for that yet.
There's no plans?
Not yet.
Well,
Not approved plans.
there are renderings. There are renderings and
Right.
ideas of what it's going to look like,
Okay.
but there's no actual architectural drawings.
Oh, well,
Right.
okay. Engineering plans
Right.
for building a building, blah, blah,
Correct.
blah, blah, blah. But there are directional plans that are out there. Because I have a copy of them. You sent them to me.
Right.
But you haven't sent that to the community. Is that right also?
Sir, when did you receive those?
I'm sorry?
When did you receive the plans that you're referring to? How long ago was it?
I'll go get it. Sent to me in a registered letter, August 30th, 2024. Would you like for me to walk up? I don't want to approach anybody and get shot.
Well, I mean, you could hand it to an officer if you'd like us to look at it.
Seems.
So, sir, I do know that the police chief has made his presentation as well, and he did have his renderings in a PowerPoint presentation, and it is available online, and they did show it here as well during a meeting prior to Commissioner Roberts and myself being elected. So he did make his presentation about it as well. So, and he did make that rendering public.
Okay, well, that goes along with, I'd like for you to publish the plans to the city in a way that you would know that a large portion of the city would see it. Not just, there's a lot of people that don't log on to their computer and look at these city meetings like my wife does. She watches almost every one of them, even though we're in a totally different state now. I'd like to see all of the bonds, what they include. I'd like to see all of your contract bids. I was proud to hear what you said, that you're going to let this bid go out to at least 3 people or companies so that they could bid that. That's wonderful news because I hadn't seen anything like that before.
Well, we're required to send
Well,
everything
I
out for
understand
bid.
that, but there was no discussion of that, and it was said that this was a done deal, quoting people on this board, I'd like to see approved budgets. And I'd like to see the ongoing operational cost. It was mentioned that you would never be able to go there unless there was someone there that was on the Fairview payroll to manage it if you allowed Dixon, Centerville, whoever you decide to let to come in and use that facility. And that was kind of questionable too, because 2 times during the meeting tonight, you said, well, no one can use it except us. Oh, well, not totally true. We're going to let other people come if they come and train with us. And then later it was said that, well, we'll have somebody to oversee them. No, so I don't know what the right answer is. You'll have to tell me. But I want you to be, I want you to be completely honest about it.
Mr. Lampley, I only asked for it for my benefit because I wanted it supervised. It
I
wasn't ever
totally
told to
agree
be.
that it
So
needs to be
That's
supervised.
my viewpoint. I want it supervised if it happens.
And because my original, when I talked to, I think it was Tom, your city manager, he said the only people that can use this is the people that are police officers in this city. And they would only be using this 1 to 2 days a month because they only have to do so much training to keep their certifications. Now, that's what I was told. And then I got here, and it was open to anyone available. I don't get again, please be open and honest.
So, sir, when you say open to anyone that's available, it's not going to be open to anyone that's available. It's only open to our police department. The only time that there's going to be someone other than our police department there is when they're doing mutual training with another city for, say, anything catastrophic, like something that would happen, God forbid, like Antioch or something like that, where we'd have to have multiple departments responding. Same thing with the fire department, where they have mutual aids. So they want to train together so that they know all the laws and everything that they can do together as a team, because not every department trains the same way. So every department can learn off of each other. So that's just to answer that one question right there. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
Okay.
I
There are additional costs to all of this. You're going to have to do maintenance on the building. It's not just build it. What are you going to do with it after the fact? And I did look at the EPA requirements for gun ranges, and it's a pretty significant lead reclamation that you have to do on any gun range, where you have to sift the lead out of the soil, test the soil, check to make certain that it's not contaminated, and you have to get rid of it, bring in new soil for the berms that are supposedly going to catch all of the bullets that are fired at the firing range. So I don't know if you've even looked at the ongoing costs of the training facility. Has anyone even
Yes, sir.
attempted to look at that?
Yes, sir. So the chief has also done that part of his presentation. Every 36 months, there's going to be a remediation of the soil. That's legal. That's law for the country, not just Fairview or the state of Tennessee.
And he gave
That's
us
for
a
the country, and
cost?
that's a federal, and that's at a cost. Of course, it is at a cost. But I don't know what the cost is going to be based on the size of this facility. But there is remediation process for this, and it was part of his presentation.
Okay, but it didn't include costs.
I don't know if it included costs or not, Mayor.
I was just wondering, Mr. Lampley, would you love to sit down with the police chief? And because all these questions that you have, we had a presentation from him, and he is very detailed in all these and has all these answers. And I would love to set up a meeting with you and him so you can get everything answered that you have questions to, that maybe we might not be able to answer everything as a board tonight, but the
Okay.
police chief has these answers, and I'm happy to.
I'll be willing to sit down with him.
Yeah, I
I'll
would be
have
happy to talk to him.
I may
and
do it over
I-
the phone.
I
because
think he would be
I
more
have
than
got-
happy to speak with you
I have
about
got
it.
multiple obligations
Yes, sir.
out of state.
I know you do.
Now that was kind of my written statement that I kind of stuck to, but during the last time I was here, I was asking, when do you actually anticipate your design being completed and approved?
The site plan's going before the planning commission. And the community and
Is that-
counties,
Is that, when you say a site plan, is that the full engineering plan?
the site plan that CEC has put together will go before the planning commission.
And
Sir?
when?
Specific date is not
Hasn't
set on
been
that.
set yet.
Whenever
We
they've
don't
completed
know
their
yet
work.
still.
But the
Okay.
next, that would be the next step, and the community is,
And then the
Right.
1.1 million that you came up with, was that provided by the designers?
from CEC.
It was, I believe it was within, I think it was about a year ago, and I was corrected, I believe it was 1.3 was the high end. It was anywhere from 600 to 1.3, depending on build out and material costs, how long we waited to move forward with it. I mean, there's variables, as I'm sure you can understand.
So your budget placeholder is 750,000
Yes, sir.
now?
Correct.
Okay, and that's just a placeholder until?
It's used to pay for the front end
Oh,
stuff.
I got that. I promised I was listening. I was trying, I was the one back there saying, can you fix your
I
microphone?
don't, my apologies, I don't know, normally these things will pick up a mouse's sneeze, and tonight they're a little less sensitive, but apologies for that.
The next few that you answered, thank you very much. And can I get a copy of the EPA studies? I was told that there were 3 EPA studies conducted.
We can get you the email to send an open records request to, and then that information can be provided.
Okay. And this was kind of answered, but have you really considered other sites? I mean, have you truly considered other sites?
I have, yes.
Contrary to popular belief, I was on the phone with 3 different people today trying to figure things out. There's been suggestions from the community on different locations. I followed up on those to see if there was any validity to them. We absolutely have. I mean, yes.
I was emailing last night about it as well. It's not like we're not still trying to think about it.
Well, please don't give up on it, and I'll just give you an example. Priscilla and I live in White County, and the county and the city police got together, and they built their gun range. They have training facility buildings like you guys are supposedly going to build another one over here, over there. I mean, you got all sorts of plans, but the actual firing range or shooting facility was put beside the transfer station. Nobody lives there. Nobody wants to live there because of the smell for the most part, but there was no pushback whatsoever to put that beside the transfer. That's an example of how you could be creative.
Based on conversations that I've had, because I've thought about that, sort of joining with other jurisdictions or doing something, and there's not an appetite for that from what I've gathered. There's not been any ability to do that. There's really no other place that we've been able to identify where it could go. And believe me, if there were another place, I would be up here speaking it into the microphone, because I hear what you're saying about all of this. I hear all of you about what you're saying about all of this, and I don't have anything. But while I'm interrupting, and I apologize for that, I wanted to go back to something that Vice Mayor McDonald just said. I believe we were told in the last meeting that $750,000 is not just taking care of the front end stuff. I've been told that was the total cost.
Correct.
And if it goes over that, then it is not approved and it needs to come back to the board.
Correct.
And I want to make that really clear. That's not covering the front end things.
No. I was
That has been
simply,
the total amount that we were told it would cost.
I was just simply clarifying that it is more than just a placeholder.
And so
Yes,
if,
but if it goes over that,
if
if
the
it's,
estimate goes
It
over
is money
that, or
that's-
the building cost goes over
It's-
that?
The
Which-
project total is, there's $750,000 that are budgeted towards that project for
And-
everything that goes with it, including the
And-
build out.
And when does that decision get made?
What decision?
When you spent that last dollar or when the estimate comes in?
my understanding is when
The
the
money's
estimate
not
comes
spent.
in.
It's just been
So-
set
When
aside.
the-
So
No,
not, so
no,
we
no,
won't be
what
going
I-
halfway through the project and say, oh, now it's going to be a $1.1 million project. So the estimate is $750,000. The project has to stay in $750,000 from my understanding. And if it estimates over that, then we don't start. If we get halfway
If the
through it and it
estimate-
goes
that's-
over it.
You just
yes.
answered it. If the estimate is over 750, you're not starting.
That is my understanding and that is what I voted on.
Is that true?
Yes, sir, but there could, at that point, obviously, to get to the estimate, some of those funds will have to be spent, right? You
Well,
can't get a design for free, so you have to
Right.
pay for that to take place.
You gotta pay an engineer, you gotta
Correct.
pay.
So I
those
was just
people that
simply
have
clarifying. that
Running
the-
all over the place over there close to my property, that I actually sent people over to make certain they were staying off of my property.
Okay.
And so, just, I don't want to contribute to this in any way, shape, or form. So, I don't even want a truck driving across the power lines on my property. I didn't give you a right-of-way for that. I will make that perfectly clear. That is the
Laws
eas-
still need to be followed, correct?
Just want to make certain.
And sir, you asked if we had looked into other facilities and all that. I literally, the past week, or 2 weeks, I've been with the planner and we've looked through, I have a spreadsheet of all the properties that we currently own. And it's 20 properties that we've currently owned, which I narrated a couple of them earlier. There are no other options as of right now, unless we purchase something, which we can't afford to purchase the way real estate's going. I mean,
Well-
even you see it. I'd love to buy my own property.
I would
but-
like to say, I can't afford for you to do what you're doing. You're probably going to cost my children somewhere in the neighborhood of $500,000. That's what you're going to cost my family.
Well,
So
we're-
I'm going to be paying for something that I don't want built. That's the way I look at it. And I'm sorry that you were in a really tough position. I get it. But I hope, again, and I'll go back to my other stuff. That's really all of the questions that I had that I don't think got answered. That's all of them. But I don't know how to be more clear about when I say I wholeheartedly oppose this. And I know that it has a history, and it's had at least a 10-year history of people doing one thing, waiting and finding a loophole and getting it resubmitted. It's happened over and over and over. And it's just, for an old man like me, it wears you down. And I guess that's what young people have over me. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And just before we go further or anything like that, I do want to address a couple of items, Mayor. Being that there's a town hall, we can pretty much talk about anything that we'd like. I do want to let everyone know that we all are working with the codes enforcement and our planning department with a lot of people have been complaining about the dirt and debris that's on our streets from all the construction sites. I just want to let you know that we are on top of it. We're doing the best that we can to control this within our legal rights. TDOT controls a lot of the SWIP, which is what keeps all the dirt on the properties. And as of right now, all of those developments have been confirmed that they are within their doing the right thing. I do know that there is one location that is being investigated, I'm going to say, and that's driving me crazy because I drive by this lake every day, and a lot of people do. And right now, that lake looks like chocolate milk, and it's hurtful that someone would just let dirt go into it. But I was told that they are looking into it, and we're doing everything that we can as a board, as a city, with our city manager, with our planning department, to clean up the streets and do the best that we can. I know that we've had snow and issues and other things like that, so I do apologize for that. And like I said, we're doing everything we can to try and clean it up. So we do want to make our streets beautiful and keep everything clean. So I just wanted to put that out there before I forget to say anything later.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I do thank you for having this open forum here and let us speak and give everyone a chance to speak their mind and say what's on their hearts and how this affects them. Appreciate Mr. and Mrs. Lampington driving up from Georgia from here. I've known him most of my life. He's older than I am. I went to school with both of them, Priscilla and Mark, and the history with Mark's daddy. His daddy was an old phone man like I am, or was. But I don't like to be in here. I don't want to be here. And since last summer, it's consumed my life to be here, to try to persuade you to do what is right. I wish you could see in the future like I see it. Look at the maps, and I see the city coming all around Boone Nature Park. I see it surrounding the out parcel, which the only people call the out parcel is you guys in the city. This is the land Ms. Bowie gave to the city. He gave to the mayor and the commissioners. They all signed on dotted line. Yes, ma'am, we'll take care of this. We'll keep this a nature conservancy. Then little by little, you've looked, not y'all personally, well, maybe a couple of you, but little by little, you've looked and tried to find loopholes. How can we use it? Police chief stood up here and said, I doubt if anyone in this room even knew Miss Bowie. Besides that, it said I can do over there whatever I want to. He told y'all in the meeting. He told you at the end of this meeting, I can go there and do whatever I want to. Last time I checked, it's city property. It wasn't his property. You gave him permission to use that property as a shooting range. 1988, Miss Bowie gave you the property. And you promised to take care of that property. You promised to keep it a nature conservancy. Have you even walked over there? Do you drive by it? Have you walked over it? Mr. Mayor, I've offered to take you over there and walk you through it. It's beautiful property. It's got the headwaters of 3 springs on it, all drained to my property, my brother's property next door. My property gets its well water from that property. We walked over there and there's wild mushrooms growing. There's turtles. There's birds. There's eagles that fly over that property. They come from Bowie Park. They fly over that property. They go to my brother's property and go to my property. I hunt on that property. And I'm sorry if my 2 shots this past deer season offended you, Mayor, but 2 shots all I fired. I heard no one shooting over there. I'm hunting on the weekend. No one's shooting. Every now and then someone shoots. Everyone I know, all my neighbors I know over there. I appreciate my neighbor here getting up there and speaking to the cattle range. I wish the Dukes could be here, but they got the flu. They couldn't be here. They raise cattle too. 1,000 feet of this range that y'all wanted to build over there. You guys were elected to represent the people of Fairview. I did a survey on Facebook. What would you do? You probably saw it. What would you do if you had 24.5 acres at Bowie Park and $3 million? It was a little high. I don't think it is. I think I'm in the ballpark. What would you do? You know what no one asked for? A police training facility. You want the police to be trained? I do too. I don't want to be trained. I want to be trained. I think they deserve to be trained. Actually, I think they deserve more money than a bigger office, Commissioner McDonald. You're building a $32,000 building right here next door, a 32,000 square foot building, according to what I've seen next door. I've got the prints at home. It was on your website. We downloaded the PDF from the city website. 37,000 square foot, maybe I'm wrong. Then why is all the dirt cleared off? It's called a criminal justice center is what the title says.
Yeah, over there, there's not enough land.
But wherever it is, wherever the dirt, I mean, I've turned around, all the dirt right over here.
That's city center.
Okay, whatever's done, whatever you're doing, you've got the plans for a criminal justice center? Is there that much crime in Fairview that you need that? Do what? Municipal court building. In the bottom of that, you show places for the police officers to train. They need more room. I guess they do. I haven't been down there. But the motion that you read, Commissioner McDonald, at the last meeting, well, I watched it online. I couldn't be here. The motion that was carried on 16th of November of 2006, almost 20 years ago, regarding the out parcel, you believe that's binding on the current Board of Commissioners. Well,
I saw that you said that, sir. At no point did I say it was binding. That is not a word that ever came out of my mouth. Alls I did was address the record that there was rumors and conversations on Facebook and social media and around town that they denied it back in 2006. Alls I did was read the minutes in full. I was not doing it to create a narrative, to spread any misinformation. I read the minutes in full so the record was clear. That is all I was doing.
I understand. But what?
I did not say binding at all. And
I'm reading with you, but I'm reading my opinion, okay? And I'm reading that what I've talked to each one of you, the most common phrase that I've gotten from three of you, that says, this is a done deal. That's what all of us have heard. This is a done deal. I've heard it from the mayor, I've heard it from Chris McDonald, I've heard it from Wayne Hall. This is a done deal.
You have not heard nothing like that from me.
All right, I've heard it from
No, sir. You're lying right there, sir.
Listen here, the main phrase
No,
I'll
sir,
say,
you've not heard anything from me on a done deal, nowhere.
fine.
No, you make it correct right now.
Okay, so maybe you haven't said it.
No, sir.
All right, then you haven't said it. The most phrase I hear, though, is done deal.
No,
Okay.
sir, not from me.
All right, not from you then. But that is the thing
Not
I
there.
hear. And when I approach you and ask you about this, you say it's already decided then. And this is the thing I guess y'all were reading, because you read it. Discuss and or take action on a firing range for the police department. City manager. City manager forehand stated that she would like permission for the police department to use a portion of what is referred to as the out parcel, map 43, parcel 44, containing 24.7 acres, located on Dice Lampley Road as a firing range. They lost their present firing range with the transfer of the water sewer properties to the Dixon Water Authority. It was located on the sewer plant property. Arnie suggested and then made a motion to set aside the entire out parcel for the use of the public safety departments. Johnson seconded the motion. All were in favor, and thus directs the out parcel for the gun range. Do not believe that this is true in accordance with city charter. City charter, certification of availability of funds to meet contract obligations. No contract, agreement, or other obligation involving the expenditure of money shall be entered into, nor shall any ordinance, resolution, or order for the expenditure of money be passed by the Board of Commissioners or be authorized by any officer of the city unless the finance director shall first certify to the board or the proper officer, as the case may be, that the money required for such contract, agreement, obligation, or expenditure is in the treasury or safely assured to be forthcoming and available in time to comply with or meet such contract, agreement, obligation, or expenditures, and no contract, agreement, or other obligation involving the expenditure of money payable for the proceeds of bonds of the city shall be entered into. The issuance and sale of such bonds have been duly authorized in accordance with provisions of this charter in reference to city bonds. The money to build the gun range was not available at the time of 2006. The motion was made. The motion is void. Basically, one board of commissioners cannot direct future boards to spend money if the money is not in the coffers, which has been my point every time I've talked to each of you. I talked to Commissioner Roberts and Commissioner Buffalini, even before they were elected, about this, and I've talked to you, Commissioner McDonald, and the mayor, and Mr. Hall. Sorry if I offend you, Mr. Hall. A motion passed by the city commissioners.
All I respect is somebody to tell the truth on me.
Speaking
And
more of,
I don't lie about nothing.
a motion passed by the city commission on the 20th of December 2012 put the out parcel back into the park system, thus nullifying the 2006 motion. In March 2015, the board passed a motion moving the property to public safety, public works. Carol asked why it needs to be classified at all. Attorney Cantrell states there is no requirement for city-owned property to be designated as particular use. However, in the past, it has been done to clarify who was responsible for the maintenance of the property. In November 2015, the board discussed selling the out parcel, and Wayne Hall stated the property had been transferred to Public Works. In 2020, the site was opened up to collect the storm debris, Public Works. And if you drive by today, the Public Works is currently using the location as a storage. The historical city commissioner meeting in minutes and the city charter challenged the assertion that the location of a gun range on the out parcel is a done deal. Also, there are much better locations for this gun range. There's 100 acres for sale near the intersection of High 100 and 840.
I called today, that's a $3.5 million piece of property.
I'm just telling you what options are available. Have you talked to anybody at the Williamson County landfill?
I talked to them today too at the front office. That is 100% still in working order. They are still using it, and they in fact have no plans on anything in the future to close it down. So the rumor that it's closed is not accurate as well.
They're not putting garbage there. They're putting debris and stuff. And
Forgive me if I take their word for it. I spoke to them on the phone today, sir.
Sir, I've talked to both county commissioners and the county manager and the manager of the county landfill. I've talked to both. I called all three people. Both county ministers said they would help push this through. They would help move. There are hundreds of acres over there. It's not used for garbage anymore. There's hundreds of acres over there to put a landfill. The director of the landfill there now, there's place in Murfreesboro. They have a place there with a gun range built on the landfill. In fact, they have 1,000 Barrett. No, nothing about this. There's a gun range, 1,000-foot rifle range in Murfreesboro, 1,000 foot, built by the Barrett Gun Company. There's other options than building this here. You were elected to represent the people, not the city. Over and over again, people have come to you in the city and the county, and they've told you, asked you, begged you to not put this here. You're putting this piece of lead right next to a beautiful diamond, and you're taking property, which is my belief that is illegal, taking the property that Miss Bowie gave to the city as a nature conservancy. On top of all this, we also know that Royal Range is not closing, that the city is not having enough funds to fund all three major projects, confirmed by the city manager in meeting minutes. Looking at the budget, Fairview is quickly burning through the 2021 bond funding and may be in violation of the city charter, paragraph 6-22-128. As they have started projects without the funding to complete them. I believe that the board needs to prioritize the city's requirements and make some hard decisions. I do not think that the folks of Fairview will look kindly upon those members of the board if their taxes are increased yet again to support additional borrowing. Again, I'm sorry if I offended you. I meant no attempt to offend you. I get very passionate about this. I grew up on that land. If I misspoke, get me, I wasn't lying. The common phrase is I've heard. It's a done deal. And I don't like that. I don't think it's a done deal. I think if y'all would work as hard to push this through, if you work hard to stop it, you don't have to build it at all. It's like he said, like my neighbors over there said, why buy a condo in Panama City and pay $1 million for it when you can go there once a year and pay just a couple $1,000 or $1,000? There's, if you do a Google search of gun ranges in Nashville or near here, within an hour's drive, you've got 25 gun ranges near here they can go to. And how many can they go to at one time? You're going to send all 31 of you officers to practice, to qualify? It just doesn't make any sense at all. No sense at all. Mayor, you told me over and over again that your main thing is to protect Bowie Nature Park. Firing weapons over and over again at this gun range y'all are wanting is not protecting Bowie Nature Park. And so many in discrepancies of what the police chief has told y'all and what you're picking up. I've heard 1 or 2 times a week, 1 or 2 times a month. But he also said, I watched the video just yesterday. He also said he plans on letting other cities come in and use this range. You asked him, well, will there be Fairview police there to supervise this? He said, well, if we got somebody we can send over, we will. Go back and watch the tape again. I've watched it. So now we got people from out of the city using the gun range without Fairview police supervising. I beg of you, don't put this there. Don't put this there. There's more people there around there closer. The Lampley's property, worthless. They're right next to it. Mr. Bowe's property, she's right there beside it. The Chapmans are right behind it. You can look through the woods and see their property. Mr. Cruz, you can see his property, you can see his house there. The Duke's property is just right there inside of this range you're wanting. You say you listen to the guys, the people in the county? Most of the county are here. Most of the people, the residents there, have been here and spoke up. Neighbors over here are right. The Cunninghams, they've been living there for generations. But they're too old, they don't understand what's going on. They don't understand what's going on. I don't understand what's going on. Look to the future. See where the city's growing. Keep it like it is now. Make it quiet over there. Don't need a gun range there. Oh, let them, yeah, the property, the 100 acres there, it's $3 million. $3 million. Buy it as an investment. Buy it as an investment. You bought 7 acres out there on Deer Ridge Road. Now you paid $130,000 for that. What is it worth now? You've done nothing with it but mow the grass. I know how much you paid for it because my brother-in-law sold it to you. So I know what you paid for it. The city is growing. Buying 100 acres out there is not a bad investment. But putting a gun range by the Bowie Park, that's a bad investment. A 50-year range, the police chief says, that's a 50-year range. That's what he wants to build. That'll be your grandchildren's children over there that have to deal with that or be in the city. So I got, you can berate me if you want to. I apologize if I offended you. Didn't mean to offend you.
Let me say something about Bowie Park. Bowie Park is going to be protected by the land trust that I initiated myself. I was the one that led the charge to get that under a land trust. Nobody else wanted it except me.
I'm proud you did that.
Mr. Lampley's, I don't know whether Stewart's his nephew, whatever he is, but when his Mr. Earl Lampley Sr., I don't know how that goes, when he changed his mind on a commercial property, that become the help that I needed to get it under a land trust. Now, what they done with the out parcel, at the time, I thought it was a good idea for the, public works. They needed spaces for certain things. But the park is protected by the land trust for your generations and generations to come. And I led the charge to get that done because of my daddy, who was a close friend with Ms. Bowie. We used to fish in the Lake Van every Sunday when I come down to see him. The city of Fairview was using it for a dump site before it ever got the point of the conservation where Ms. Bowie was planting trees and everything. There was another gentleman that, Mr. Langford, I've forgotten but Mr. Langford is a captain on the fire department. His grandmother and granddaddy, was another couple that led the charge to get the park donated by Ms. Bowie. She donated other lands, but I wanted the park protected, and it is protected. And if anything comes up now, we have to be approved through the land trust for anything to be done inside the park, such as playgrounds, bathrooms, anything like that. Municipal buildings are allowed, believe it or not. But when all this come about, Mr. Duke done the ecological study for me, Jacob and Caleb's daddy, who was a close personal friend of mine. And it breaks my heart, believe it or not, that they lived there. And I remember Jacob and Caleb when they were little. They come into my barn and seen the Clydesdales there that I had there for an overnight boarding. This was the Budweiser Clydesdales. And now they got little children the size they were. And it breaks my heart that it's going to be put there. And I have been in conversations with several people in the county trying to get them to partner with us to put it somewhere else. But as far as Bowie Park and us protecting it, Bowie Park is protected because of the land trust.
So the land itself is protected?
Yes, sir.
The noise, though, coming from the range.
Well, I can't help that because I'm,
understand.
But I'm doing everything I can to try to see that we do the right thing and get it done the right way. Now, I voted for the extension the other day on that thing because we were advised in the wrong way with the Board of Zoning Appeals. But the reason I done that was to make sure that I could have a voice in the safety factor when it's done. If it gets done, I want to be a voice in the safety factor of it being done, and I will have a lot of opinions from my own viewpoint to see what I can do to make it safer. But as far as anything else, what you said a while ago, I did not do that, Mr. Brunner.
General attitude seems to be that you guys are wanting to put it in there, and that you're going to be damned you're going to put it in there. General attitude of the people that are paying attention, attitude is why? Why put it there? Put it off. Don't build it all. Where are the police training now? Where do they go now?
So right now, sir, we go to Dixon, but we were just informed that Dixon is going to be charging us $800 per day to utilize their facility. And that, well, not when you...
800. That goes against what the police chief reported at the meeting, the last BOZA meeting, Board of Commissioners meeting. He said that if any police department wanted to train at the range that he's wanting to build, that he wouldn't be charging. The same thing that when they go train somewhere, they don't charge. They're not charged.
That changed.
When did that change? Because this was just
We were just made aware of that.
last week of that.
We were just made aware of that.
Very suspicious. A lot of
No,
things.
it just, that's something that they've decided after the remediation of the lead, that moving forward, starting in July, that it's going to cost quite a bit of money for us to train there.
You know what it costs?
If it's available. Because see, that's the problem we have, is when we reach out to Franklin, which Franklin's gun range is right in the smack dab in the middle of their city.
Right.
And Dixon is right smack dab in the middle of their park where children play all day long.
Right. And the park was built after the range was built, wasn't it?
Dixon's gun range is 1,900 feet from a soccer field, 1,700 feet from a disc golf, 2,500 feet from baseball fields, 2,100 feet from their elementary school. 2,100 feet.
When were they built?
The point is that they are in the I have no idea. I wasn't around. I didn't ask for the history of it. I have no idea. But I can guarantee you, if it was even built afterwards, that gun range that means the regulations that gun range had to live up to were nowhere near what they are today.
According to the chief, this gun range was built 30 years ago. I don't think those soccer fields were built that long ago. So they had the option of building near the gun range. You're not giving us an option at all. And I still don't understand why you won't listen. Another plan, you don't have to build a range. You can do something else. Public does not want this.
If I may, sir.
Yes.
With
by
all
means.
due respect, I get the sense that you don't think we've put any legwork into trying to find an alternate solution.
I
and
think you
that
got your
could
mind
not
made
be
up already.
Why do you feel that way?
Because every time I talk to you,
If that's the truth, then why was I sitting on my computer at 1:30 in the morning last night trying to figure out something that I could tell you? Why was I all day today not doing anything that I need to do for my personal self, but calling around to check on the alternative solutions that you and your brother provided as if they were just done deals, when none of them are realistic options?
Because you were elected to do this. I wasn't.
100%. But
You were elected.
you're accusing us, and you're speaking to us as if we're not putting in any effort. If we don't care, do you think we ran just so we could sit up here and listen to this and not care? And we don't care?
I think that's part of the job, Commissioner McDonald.
It 100% is, sir, and that's what I'm trying to tell you.
To be honest, like I
we
told
do
you
care.
before, I don't understand why you'd even want this damn job. Because I sure hell
So
wouldn't want
my
it.
question to you is, the argument that you're trying to make that we don't need it, I disagree with. I think that, as we all know, the city is growing, our police department is growing, the facilities that they currently have available is a joke. Their training room allows for 16 of officers to sit in. That's half their police force. They can't even meet as a full police force. If they do want to go to shoot, train in Dixon as they currently do, That means that you are taking police officers that should be in the city of Fairview, servicing the city of Fairview. They have to leave service because they're not doing it on their off shift. They're not doing it outside the time that they're getting paid. So now they're 45 minutes outside of the city to train. There is an absolute need for it. Now, we can discuss whether or not where the location is. That's fine, and I understand that. But the problem that I have with the majority of the arguments that I heard is, and I get it, I'm not saying that I wouldn't be making the same argument if I wasn't in your position. What I am asking you is, if we decided to move it to the other side of town, if you drive the outskirts of city limits of Fairview proper, where the county meets the city, there's cattle all over the place, northwest, south, east, doesn't matter which direction you go. So if we moved it to the other side of town, this exact same conversation's taking place. It's just a different group of people.
Right.
That's not a solution. That's a solution for you, but that's not a solution for the city of Fairview. So I would appreciate solutions that might actually be relative to the situation and not just to you. That's what I would like to ask. And trust me, those, as far as what I can control, I have done everything. I know, I'm not going to name people by names, but there are people that live in that area that I have in my personal life. They watch my children during the day. I live in this community, sir. I'm not just coming in on a Thursday to sit up here. I feel for these people. I lose sleep over it. And for you to assume that we don't care is like his reaction. It hurts. But the fact is, the decisions that have to be made, our police department needs to be trained. And the thing is if something was to happen and we didn't have adequately trained police officers, this room would be packed full. And they'd all be screaming at us, why didn't we train our police officers properly?
Here again,
The
assuming-
Uvalde situation where you didn't have properly trained police officers and
Now,
they
who's
stood
assuming?
outside and didn't do anything?
Now, who's assuming? You're assuming that I don't want them trained. I'm trying to offer other solutions.
I didn't assume that.
You did. You just told me that. You're assuming that I think that you think they don't need to be trained. I think they need to be trained. Absolutely need to be trained.
Somewhere else, though, right?
I think you're somewhere else, but not inside
Where?
the city. I don't know where.
I know, and we
I'm
don't
giving
either,
you-
sir. And we've tried. Trust me, we have tried. I cannot
But-
stress that enough.
By putting them on this piece of land, this goes back to 1988, as I said before, that Miss Bowie gave the city this land that you would maintain it as a nature conservancy. I know, yes, it is.
No.
It's what it says. It
Not
says
that part. Not that part.
all of it was given at the same time, according to the deeds. All the deeds are the same.
Let me ask you something, Mr. Bruner.
Sir?
Another one of my goals to get it under a land trust was what I was hearing from a future board several years ago. They were going to sell off 5-acre estate lots all around the outside of Bowie Park. Now, where would that have put your property at today if you had houses all the way around Bowie Park? That was my goal then, was to get it under a land trust where it couldn't be bothered.
I commend you for putting in the land trust, Mr. Hall. Commend you for doing that. It needed to be done that way. Thank you.
I do have to say one thing. I did misspeak. It wasn't $800. It was $300. So I apologize. Just want to clarify that. I didn't have my glasses on when I read the email.
Hi, my name is Gina Brunger. We own a house and 20 acres on 7105 Dice Lampley Road. There's a couple of things, listening to everybody talk tonight. On Northwest Highway, do you think that there could be a roundabout that might slow the traffic down? That would,
I mean, not, okay.
I just see them in other communities and thought that might be something you might
Thank
consider.
you. And thank you for offering a creative solution to that. I mean, in that road, there's so much private property and it's a mix of straightaways and then sharp curves and all the development happening.
understand. I just thought-
But thank you.
Just
Yeah.
throwing that out.
And I want to say, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was discussed at one point when the whole Northwest Highway, the beginning of those conversations were taking place of what that might look like. I cannot recall what our staff had said on that, and my apologies. I don't have that information, but I feel like it was discussed. Do you remember that? I feel like a roundabout at some point was a conversation.
I do, what I do remember is that we had to do land acquisition for the width all the way down through there, and a roundabout adds to that, which takes more land from the people down through that corridor, and I think that was one of the issues at the time.
Just something I thought about.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, we appreciate ideas because,
Well, I've got a few more.
we don't have all the answers, so ideas that, are outside the box, I mean, we're up to hear them.
So I heard tonight also that, that Mayor, you're on a board, I don't know what it was, but that the commissioners can go, but since you're there, they can't ask
The
questions?
way that works, it's called the Open Records Act. So when two commissioners, we're five, if two of us, more than one person's there, and that's the Open Records Act, same thing, which some people call the Sunshine Law. When two of us are together, we cannot discuss anything that's going to be voted on in the future.
Right, but I guess what I'm asking is then, why do you not recuse yourself of that spot, even though, I mean, they could find somebody else that was proficient in what you are doing, so that
I was
everybody
not
could
the
ask
one,
questions?
I didn't ask to be chosen for that committee. And that committee is going to meet 2 times.
Oh,
So it's not like an ongoing committee.
Okay.
It's going to meet 2 times, and after that, after those 2 times, this whole board, our community, we're all going to weigh in on this together. So it's just 2 times.
Okay.
And probably because I've been on the planning commission for 13 years, I understand before and now. And then also with my 20 years of architecture engineering background, I just bring a little bit to the table. But, I mean, I didn't choose me.
Okay.
The planning board or the planning office chose. But it's 2 meetings. As soon as those 2 meetings are over, I mean, the community weighs in, this board has the decision. I'm not making any decisions for the board at all.
Okay. How many acres are needed for the training facility? When you're looking at other sites, how many
It's a really
acres?
good question, and honestly, based on the conversations that we have had with everybody over the last couple months, I would say a whole lot would be ideal, because you obviously need an enormous buffer before anybody's going to not give you an argument. And I don't even think if we had 50 acres in either direction, it would still be enough. I mean, I'm not sure how much land would, for the footprint of it, probably 10. But that would be very limited with very little buffer.
But I also want to say, we have focused so much on the shooting aspect of this. And I don't know that it's clear that there's so much more that they're planning to do, which is why the size is really important. It can't be on just a couple of acres because of all of the different types of training and the space for them to meet, like we've mentioned before. Just to go with what Vice Mayor McDonald was saying earlier, there is not sufficient space for the police force we have. And I've mentioned in a previous BOC meeting, we really are about to experience a boom and more people. And it's very beneficial for us to have the police built and ready before that happens rather than trying to be reactive to it. And so that's why it's so important. But there's so much more to this than just shooting.
Right.
So that's...
I was asking so that I can help you guys look for an alternative place.
Thank you.
That's-
Yes.
So
And if I may, our whole police department is in the basement of this
I know.
building.
I
That
know.
was never intended. Actually, a justice center was supposed to be built behind this building. And of course, we're in the best financial shape right now that we've ever been in as a city. And back then, when they built this building, they ran out of money. And our police department has tried to function in the basement, which also puts us at liability because that stairwell right there, we have holding cells down there for, for court, and we really we need a place that's functional, that we can have our, have more safety measures.
I understand.
So,
I believe that draft site plan showed a 3,000-foot building. To me, at the training facility, because we came to the city manager and got maps of the plans for the whole training center.
are you talking about the
training facility.
The gun range or the justice center?
No, I'm talking about the gun range.
Okay, thank you.
Training
I was
facility.
just making sure
Yes,
I understood which building, because we were
Right.
going back and forth.
That's a big building. Since we only have 30 officers, that's a big building, and it seems a little excessive. But also, there's a 32,000 square foot municipal and court building that you have on the plans, and it includes 17,000 square feet for the police department to use there. So,
Ma'am, with all due respect on that build, I can tell you that is a long way off. We're
Okay.
not building, that is,
but still, the
that is not
the
approved,
police
that
would
is years and years away. That is a probably $30+ million build that would be, the city of Fairview hasn't done anything remotely close to that size financially, and that's definitely, I just don't want anyone watching it on home or online or gonna watch this and think that that's something that's coming up, because it's not right now. That is not a thing.
Okay,
I mean, it was
that's not
discussed,
put out
and
that-
it's
that we
and it's
know
being
that.
talked about as as something in the future that we could consider, but it is by no means something that is set to move forward.
Okay, because us not knowing that, it made it seem like it was duplicating space.
Yeah, no, and that's why I want to clarify. It's definitely, that's not
Okay.
moving.
What are I guess the police chief needed to answer some of these questions. I wish he were here, but do you know what the classroom training requirements are?
I actually, I don't know, but just to what you just said, and to what Mayor Anderson said earlier is, it might be helpful for you to ask him these questions and to have a conversation with him. And I'm not putting you off. If somebody on the board wants to actually answer
Right.
your question, then that's fine. But it might actually be helpful to find out, because it might also help you just think about the more immediate need for it and why we do feel pressed the way that we do. I understand, Mr. Brunger, your comments earlier and how you feel about that, but there's just such a tension, and I think that you all are getting that. I'm hearing some responses there. There's a lot of tension here, but you also might hear how he puts it with his
We've tried
leadership.
twice.
Yeah.
To talk to him, but it hasn't worked either.
Well, does
Well,
anyone know the answer to the question?
I think maybe he should make another presentation for our city and civilians. But as far as certifications, I believe they have to do pistol certification yearly. I believe that's what it is so every year for each police officer. That's just to maintain their certification to shoot a firearm. But there are other certifications and other classes that they have to do on a monthly basis to just maintain being sharp.
Are a lot of those online classes?
No,
Because-
ma'am.
No?
No,
Okay.
ma'am. Those are taught by certified instructors that we bring in here from the state, from federal, locally, even our chief, who is a certified officer, to do trainings as well.
Do you know if they have to do physical training, drills, things like that?
They do, of course.
And they're doing that now?
They are, yes.
Okay.
And we give monthly presentations or bi-monthly presentations here, and they show how much training hours that they do for police and for fire as well. And I, as a former firefighter in New York City, I can tell you that we've always kept up to shape. You know, even if you see a larger officer or a larger firefighter, I can assure you that they can run. Right now, they can run farther than I can because I am so out of shape. But I can assure you that they are constantly working out. Even in our fire department here, they have a little gym that they've put together by donated equipment so that they can keep active. And our police officers go there, they use that as well. And I'm sure they do it on their own time as well for keeping fit.
And that's part of what was kind of discussed earlier is the problem with having the location at Dixon that they used to train at. It's not feasible to send a large portion of, they can't train together, right?
Right.
And that's a big part of a police force. You want to be able to have, how are we all going to cooperate and work together in this situation or that situation? So when you only can allow a couple at a time to go and train, they don't have the ability to properly train. As far as the state requirements go, it's kind of interesting. I expected more strict training regiment from the state or even from the federal government, but unfortunately there's areas of states, Tennessee for sure, almost probably every state, where some police departments don't have the funds to be able to just to hit a requirement that a state set, not taking into consideration how much finances they have available to go towards training. Does that make sense? So you can't say, hey, in order for you to be qualified, we need you to do X, and X is going to cost you $150,000 for your force annually to train that way. Well, there's some departments in the country that just don't have that type of funds available. So they can't set the bar higher than what is feasible financially for everybody. So technically, the minimum requirements is kind of low. Now, obviously, any municipality or county that's capable of having their officers trained above and beyond that, that's what you ultimately want to do. You want your officers to be as trained as you possibly can afford to do so. I certainly do. But that's, to answer your question about like state minimums, it's kind of I was surprised by that answer myself when I got it, but that was the answer I was given.
Ms. Bruner?
Yes.
3 or 4 things I want to thank you for. First off, trying to volunteer to help find property. I do thank you for that. And thank you for mentioning the roundabouts. They are a safety factor, and that would be something that I would pose to the codes department. The other thing was, I had 3 things in mind. You have to excuse the old senior citizen part, but the training, physical training. Back when I was city manager here, we had an auxiliary policeman that actually got his knee messed up in a scuffle, wrestling type thing for lifting weights and that type thing. And we actually had a gun discharge in the training room. That's how small that area was for training. It was an accident. Another thing where he didn't think the gun was loaded, but possibly didn't check it properly. But the other thing is that I have constantly asked the chief about the training in case a school incident were to occur in this town. We've got 3 schools within a mile of Dice Lampley property. But I've also talked to county mayor. Is it beyond a mile? Where the crow flies? Okay. And also Sheriff Hughes. And Sheriff Hughes has a plan in place to get all the police chiefs together in a few weeks and go over a protocol to get something. And I know he's kin to you, sir. He's a good friend of mine.
We talk to him regularly.
Yeah, well, Jeff's a good personal friend. But he's getting all the police chiefs together within the county to sort of get a protocol ready in case something like happened in Antioch or the Covenant school shooting, to get something, because the way it is right now, we're the police department that will respond the quickest before he can get his unit. It's county property, so He would be the one to come in and take over. But we are the ones that would have to take the first call, other than the one officer that he might have in the school
sir, I
itself.
know.
But that's one thing that I've been worried about for a long time, is these school shootings that are happening. And just like Jeff said today, he said, Wayne, they're happening too often. I said, you're very right. And so we've got a good friend there, and he'll do what he can to help us out, in training and that type thing. But right now, he's going to have to shut down his firing range because of jail improvements. So,
Well, they're building a brand-new one,
yeah.
multi-million.
But, we got good friends, and it's just we got to find the proper way to get this done. Our police department does need training, and I'm one that agrees to that, but where it's going to be put, I don't know yet. I've had my ideas of where I thought it could go, but that's been shot down. Just like my roundabout has been shot down, but I will bring that back up again. Thank you. Thank you again, Ms. Brunner.
Welcome. Who's going to be performing the training at the training facility? The police chief or somebody coming in to provide the training?
No, it's a little after 10, so forgive me. My bedtime's not usually this late, so if my memory falters a little, but I have spoken with him, and there are trainers. So he does have designated people that do training.
Okay.
I want to say that we have vetted this, and there will be more information that'll come out about it. But this is great training for the police. And I just kind of want to go off of what Commissioner Hall was just saying about the school shootings. And when I look at our officers and I think about people running headlong into the worst possible situations, we have to train them. They have to be prepared, and we're asking them to do something that none of us has stepped up to do. And it is creating a very challenging situation because we need a place to do that. But we've got to make sure that we're training them, and I do believe that the police chief has thought it through, and he's got a very good concept for what his department needs and how to see it through. And the location is the problem. I don't think that the cost is the problem. I don't think that we have questions about it. We need to be mindful of it, but that's not the problem. If it wasn't for the location, I think we would all probably be much more inclined to go forward with it. But I think that the details will come forward. We'll get all of the details for you about this as it's regulated and brought through. But we don't have the answers to everything tonight for you.
Right now, the current budget is about $20,000 for the training for the police department. So if it's $300 a day to use the firing ranges in Dixon, how many days does it take them to go through a training? Do you know?
I don't know that. I don't think any of us know that. I think that's a question for the chief, which is why I would like to bring up perhaps maybe the next town hall where we can interact. I don't know if this is feasible or not to have the directors of the other departments here, if that's even something that we've ever done or can do. I don't know that. I mean, the mayor would have to, and the city manager would have to comment on that, because I know that citizens would like to interact with them and just to hear more from them. So that would be nice, but I don't know. So that's just something that I'd bring up.
I'll quit and ask questions at another time, but I'm really concerned too about how the building security is going to be handled and manned, because it's a big area. You're going to put a really tough, what's going to stop people from coming into it anytime? Is it going to be manned 24 hours a day? You're going to have electric fences or something really high?
I asked the same question. I was concerned about this, and I was told there's double fencing.
Wait,
and
I don't know what that means.
But like a fence and then another fence around the outside of it.
Okay.
So it will be very secured and locked, and the buildings will be locked, and not everybody will have access to those. So only certain people will be able to open the buildings, but that there is security around the perimeter.
Well, just like from Aaron's house, or, I mean, what's to keep somebody from just going over the fence right there and,
I think some of these things will probably be answered when we see more detailed plans, which will come with the budget also. Because we haven't seen that level of detail to my knowledge. I haven't seen it. But this is one of those things that we have to look at and approve.
will there be another open forum after discussion on other things?
Yes, the mayor's stated a date. What was
May
that?
May 29th is our next town hall. But that doesn't stop you from coming to meetings and speaking during citizens' comments.
But then we can't ask questions.
Well, I think, okay, so this is what I try to do, and I'm sure I've heard, other commissioners answer questions. What I do, I'll speak for myself, is when you make comments at citizens' comments, we jot the questions down and try to answer those at the end during our roundtable.
Okay.
As
Also
best
then-
as we can.
Also then, though, if we have other questions, do we just email them to you and hope we get an answer back?
You're welcome to email any of us.
Okay. Do you all answer back?
Absolutely.
I will answer
We do.
every email. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
That's because, okay, I'll just leave it at that. So, in closing, I hope that you guys dig more and try to fix this, because if it were a closed range, I think the whole city, the whole county, everybody, no matter where you lived in Fairview, city or county, would be behind this. We all want the officers trained. We just don't want the disruption that it'll all cause for the whole city, not just on our property, but it'll be heard at the schools. And with all of these shootings, if kids are outside and start hearing gunshots, it's going to scare the daylights out of them. That's not going to be good. And gunshots carry. I don't care if they train in the winter, there's no leaves on the trees. It's going to sound a whole lot more. Even with the leaves on the trees, you're going to be able to hear it. I hunt there, and I know how far you can hear a bullet. And if you've got 31 officers training, and you can't tell me how many days that takes, and they have to train twice a year, and they're going to let other people from other places, other counties come in to train, that's a lot of shooting. I'm just saying, please keep digging to find an alternative. Because I know if we all work together, we can do that.
Thank you, Ms. Bronger.
All right. I appreciate your honesty, Commissioner Buffalini, on the 800 to 300. That is a pretty big difference. 500. Is that a per student or per day, or how is that? Renting the Dixon facility? That's, I've been over there many times, and I know quite a few people over there. I'm not sure how that is arranged, and I know the vice mayor spoke his word about how close all that is. At
Sir,
the end of the
all it says right now, it just says per day usage.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's per officer, student, or whatever, but anyway, going from the 800 to 300, that's a big difference, and I appreciate, me too. My diabetes is not well on my little eyes anymore, but, we have a facility at the state out there off Stewart's Ferry Pike in Donaldson. I don't know if y'all are familiar with it. It's, matter of fact, there's law enforcement agencies that come from all over the country there You familiar with it? You ever been there? You haven't? It's big place. Look it up. You know anything about it, Vice Mayor? Oh, good. Well, so we got about 30 officers, right? Right at 30? Well, there ain't no way they'd all be going at the same time, because if they did, how many would we have here protecting our good citizens at one time? So there's no way they'd all be going at one time. Plus, if there's some that's working a shift, whatever their shifts may be, there's just math that's not going to let them go all at one time. Even if they went and did their 8-hour shift and then maybe 4 hours of overtime or whatever, and say they even went to Dixon, let's call it 30 minutes windshield time. That's pretty good, riding a company car over there if that's what they need to do, and I'm all for that, But long story short, they'd be broke up in shifts on that. And the price of them training, whether it's looking to the state out there, going out there to Stewart's Ferry at Donaldson, at the state facility, or say Dixon, or over at Franklin, it's, like I said, to spend the money of what it costs, whether it's a day or per officer, whatever the training would be, it's well worth it. We want to spend our money on our law enforcement, all our fire department, our EMT, whatever we've got to do. I just believe putting a shooting range over there in that area with the creeks and all the lead and the lead abatement and all that, I mean, there we go again, talking about all these, like even these city taxes I pay. Hell, I ain't even got city water at none of them. Did y'all know that? Not none. Can't even get it. Ain't even offered. And the city of Fairview don't even own the waters. Dixon does. What a joke. Is that not pitiful, y'all? Truthfully. This could go on and on and on and on. And y'all come up with all the excuses. Yeah, the cops and all our services, they need to train him. It's a terrible, terrible idea out there where that is. And that's going to be nothing but a money pit from the day before it starts for years to come. Let's think about that. Y'all think about it. And I appreciate y'all's time. And I don't know if there's anything else that I could think of right now, but Lord knows as it goes on. Hell, y'all got y'all's things y'all can come up with, and we probably have ours we can come up with. So let's find a happy medium. I just terribly think that's a bad place over there. Thank y'all.
5 years ago, the BOC sold the Fairview water and sewer utilities to Dixon. And many people believe that that was a poor decision. So I'm begging you, please don't make a poor decision on this. Let's all just keep working.
Sheila Cook. As far as water, I didn't have that on my notes, but these are just notes from what I just heard tonight. So yeah, the Dixon, I paid about $5,000 just to put another water line in or more, just to not water my yard and pay twice, but that's a whole other subject. I wasn't here then. So first, I have a question or two, and then I just have some things I've heard here, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong. But first, do we have like a deadline, I guess I'm hearing, to use the bond money by? Is that what some of the problem is? If we don't use it by a certain time? Is that kind of what the?
Yes, ma'am. I'm not
Okay.
sure exactly what it is
That's fine.
Tom might be able to shout that out. Tom, do you know when that bond money?
December 2026.
Okay. Okay. And would we not use that up building the fireplace or the fire department or anything?
That's different money.
Okay, fair enough. This room, is it used during the day could it not be used for training? It's a pretty good room. I'm sorry?
It's used during the day.
Is
I
it?
was in here meetings today. I'll be all day here in meetings tomorrow.
So there, it's not free
court's
enough for the
here.
police to come? Okay, oh, this is what
Yeah,
court is?
court's
I hope to
here.
never be here, but okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Okay, see, I'm still learning about the city. So here's just some things tonight, and y'all correct me if I've heard wrong. So on the new range use, I've heard only Fairview Police, when I was standing here, was going to use it. Then I heard other communities may use it with us, and then I heard, well, maybe somebody we hope will supervise while they use it. So, I mean, those are all different things, from only to, so I guess when you hear some of us, I hate to say it this way, don't believe kind of what's coming out, because we hear different things. So it's cognizance. I believe in words and how they're said and what's said and being exactness. Then I asked, can we not have others pay for this when I was up here asking? No. And then I found out later, well, guess what? We're doing this because Dixon's going to ask us to pay for it. Why? Because they need to clean up the lead. Well, that was one of the things. What is the yearly? I know you don't know these, but these are questions. Why I come back later and go, well, what's the yearly? Well, we didn't ask that question. Please ask that question. Maintenance, whatever. The burns, I don't know all these things. They've got to probably maintain the walls, whatever. So that's some things. And then, don't know as far as budgets, you have them for the year, right? I understand budgets, but, so we did an amendment with some line items, right, in the 750,000. So my question is, do you only get to do that a couple times a year or something? So, because if so, I understand why the 750, but just maybe take it into account as we go forward. If you only needed 200,000, I'm just throwing a number out, to get the plans, maybe put 200,000. And then come back and go, okay, it's going to be something else, and do it. I think the problem is you hear this number, we don't even know what the number needs to be, but they've added this big number. So I don't know. I don't know if that's why that was done. I know that was done before some of y'all and after y'all, but you only get to do this once or twice. I'm learning how the city works, so these are just things that, as a PM in my former life of job, because I retired, these are things that had to be taken care of, and questions, and you have to look ahead and stuff, and you have to get the people to trust what you're saying, and I don't believe any of y'all trying to lie to us, so it's not that, but it's, I had to have integrity in the job. And if I misspoke, like you didn't mean to, I come back and say, hey, I messed up. I know you're a PM too, so that's just, you just have to, so, and I appreciate that, and all of y'all do that, so I appreciate that.
I would suggest if you email the questions that you have specifically, because some may think this is a full-time job, that we're all up here and this is all we do. It's not. So
it's a thankless job. So
typically at a meeting, we've got staff, and it is their full-time job, and they're very educated on it. So when we are asked to give a direction on something, but we may not know all the details, we can refer to staff. Hey, can you answer this? Give us the details, and then we make a decision. So if you have those questions, and I am positive that those answers can be given to you without vagueness or gray area. And I'm happy for you to send those to me. I can give you my email before you leave.
Okay.
I will get those to the right staff members and get you the responses you're looking for.
But I don't want to just have the answer you hear. We all pretty much have the same questions.
Sure, and
answers,
you
so.
could post that email response online, or I can read it into a meeting, however we
Or we
want
can
to do
stick
that.
it on the City of Fairview.
Yeah,
site or
I'm.
something, yeah. Okay.
It's
But
just-
that's it. I mean, we really want to get back to whatever happened before. I wasn't here, doesn't matter. Let's just start over. I mean, that's the best we can do, I guess. And I'm kind of curious about this whole history of stuff, but I don't understand the deeds and this and that and the other, what happened. I wasn't here, so I can't speak to it, so. But thank you for your time. It's late. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Don't want to come to these meetings because they feel very intimidated. And a lot of that is because of Facebook. They will crucify you on Facebook.
I suggest people not talk about this on Facebook, because we're here and we have emails, and I'm happy to meet with anybody, and I'm sure I'm not going to speak for them, but I'm sure they're happy to meet with you too.
But when they
I mean-
see that, and then like last time the meeting, Mr. Cruz did get very emotional, and the policeman stood up, and you were beating the gavel, and the lawyer was saying, you can't talk about that, you can't talk about that. When they watch that, they don't want to come because they're scared. They're scared. So maybe sometime you could actually make a video that was on the city website that said, you're all welcome. Say it. Don't just tell us here. Say it on the website.
Well, ma'am, that's what this is for right here, this town hall. I hope no one feels intimidated on speaking.
No.
I mean,
Well-
we're all open here this evening, and we are willing to sit here all night if it takes that. I do have to go to the bathroom, but other than that, I'm not going to lie.
I mean to tell people that are watching that.
But even the people that are watching, I mean, what would be kind of cool for a town hall is to have maybe something interactive where they can comment and we can read comments.
Yes.
Or, that would
Yes,
be kind of
that
cool.
would be
'cause
very
Some
nice.
people can't do that. I mean, I might get yelled at later by some people on the board. I don't know, but I mean, it's an option because there's some people that are invalids or they can't get out. You don't know what their situations are. They don't have a ride or enough money to get gas. I don't know, and I can't assume that either. But I think that would be a great option to have some sort of interactive.
And sometimes we can't get to these meetings because there's family obligations or vacations or, something, but we want to be a part, and that would be a great idea to be able to actually interact at that time, ask questions, and then maybe you could go back and answer them that way.
But also, if we did that, we'd be here all night because Facebook is cruel.
Promise, I'll be very quick. Sean Fowler, I actually have two properties here. Me and my dad own 1020 Wiseman Farm Road, and I live on Sleepy Hollow Road. Thank you, and thank everyone here this has been very informative, very educational. I've learned a lot. Some of my questions have already been answered. I would just hope that you guys can keep digging and find an answer to help the police force get everything they need, but also protect the park. And Wayne, I know you protected the park. I don't know if you remember me, but my daughter Reese grew up with your granddaughter Reagan. And my daughter was 6 years old and stood here back in 2002 and talked about Bowie Park, about all the issues going on back then when she was 6 years old. So I've been hiking and walking Bowie Park for 23 years. It's very special to me, and I know it's very special to a lot of people. I love it, and it's a part of my life. And I'm just worried that if this range does go there, like it is protected, I understand that, but like just the noise pollution, like sometimes if I take my 84-year-old father there, he's very sensitive to sounds. I'm afraid if he hears gunfire, he's going to want to go back to the car and go home. So I just hoping that there is some miracle solution that falls in your lap that gives them the training that they need. My daughter is a firefighter in Chattanooga, and I know the training she went through, and I know that all these first responders need the proper training. So I hope that, because Bowie Park, I mean, is it true it's like one of the biggest city parks in the United States? It's what? I mean, that is such a unique gift. And I know it's protected, but noise should also be protected. And I don't know how often the firing range will be used, but if this does go through and it does sit by the park, I would encourage you all to at least try to figure out how can you inform the community when it is going to be used, so people who don't want to be hiking or riding horses in the park don't have to be there when there are going to be gunshots going off. So as much as you guys can do to give them what they need, because I know that it's needed, but also protect this unbelievable gift that this city has in Bowie Park. I mean, it's like no city has this. And I know, I'm so thankful that all the work that was done back in the early 2000s, putting in land trust is amazing.
but noise and gunfire especially can also interfere with the park and the enjoyment of the park and also all the animals that live in the park. So I just want to say, you got a hard job, good luck, but I'm hoping that both things can happen. I do have one question. How many people visit Bowie Nature Park a week, a month, a year? Y'all have any numbers on that?
It's over 20,000 a month.
Wow. So as you make this decision, think about those 20,000 people who will be affected walking through the park, riding horses through the park, and hearing gunfire. And I hope you guys can come to solution, because that won't be very good for the park. It won't be very good for the city 10 years, 15, 20 years down the road, and like this all happening. So anyway, thank you all tonight for all your answers and education and information that's really helped me. So
Just want to say one thing. That's part of my safety thing, is what you come up with there about a schedule of when it's going to be done, and let the citizens know that live in that area.
Right.
To let them know that was going to be part of my safety thing if this goes through eventually.
Yep.
But I think a lot of the little things like that could help situations where we know what time it's going to be done.
Yeah.
Where the citizens know that to maybe turn up the TV a little louder and make sure the children are on the backyard and
Right.
that type thing. But I don't want that type of a thing to have to worry about whether the children are in the backyard or not. You know,
Right.
I want it the safest that it can be done. And I won't vote for it unless I know it's going to be safe.
appreciate that. I mean, that 20,000 number blows me away.
Yeah.
And if that's true now, it could be 30,000 in 5 years. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So
Anyway.
noise pollution is a thing. And Wayne, good to see you
Good to
again.
see you.
And I was there with the Clydesdales too. I still remember that night.
You was there, wasn't you?
Yes, I
you
was.
Yeah.
Can you believe
Reagan is living in Hawaii now.
Is she really?
Yeah, been there for 3 years. In fact, her brother Jared is out there now visiting her.
Oh, that's awesome.
I wished I could go, but I can't. Barbara's not able to go.
All right. Thank you all so much.
Good to see you.
All
Thank
right,
you,
you too.
Mr. Tyler.
So just to let everyone know that right now, I just logged on and there's over 50 people watching. And I did say, does anybody have a question? And somebody actually said, how do you all do this so long without a coffee or a bathroom break? So I just wanted to share that. I think that was funny.
If we drank more coffee, we'd have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, I mean, I went down 2 bottles. I can see Vice Mayor went through what was that, 5 or 4 bottles of water down there. So
Not thinking ahead.
Yeah,
Y'all gotta
so-
slow it down. Sipping.
So, but I mean, I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight and tolerating the amount of hours that we've spent on many topics, and it's not just tolerating, but voicing your opinion. So we do appreciate it, and we do listen. We do hear you. So thank you very much.
So does anybody else have something they'd like to add tonight, or are we ready to call it a night?
This, sorry my math takes over my brain, and very passionate person. My wife, my poor wife, is married to me, and she had been for 50 years. So, no hard feelings to you guys. I'm just very passionate. They want me to hand afterwards. Love you, Mr. Hall. I'm sorry.
Priscilla and I bought some property that we're shooting into from the estate of one of the first.
Mr. Lampley, come on up to the mic, because I know that people at home are going to want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, well, Priscilla and I bought property from the first deceased Bowie. And the rest of the Bowies were so intent on keeping this property pristine and natural that I actually called in the state forestry team to come and look at it, because I don't know if everybody here knows, but it was completely covered with pine trees. She did that as a conservation back when the federal government paid you to plant pine trees. Well, The forestry people told me, you can't leave those trees there. They're killing themselves. So you're going to have to cut them. So Priscilla and I cut the forest, and the next week, the Bowies had a letter in the local newspaper about that Lampley boy has just destroyed my property. You can go back and find them. But that's how passionate they were about keeping their property in that type of shape. So just wanted to share that story.
So, Mayor, I have a question. Might be for our city manager. Is there any option to purchase property outside of Fairview?
Tom says yes.
Tom says yes.
I guess I've talked to Chief about that too, and he just said taking our officers out of the city and the time and the travel is not the most opportune thing to do.
Well, I'm just talking about like right above like Hickman, right on 840 or somewhere over there where there's cheaper properties available. I was just trying to brainstorm and come up with ideas. Just,
yeah, and I appreciate that.
I think that's what we're all trying to do here. That's also millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we're looking for something that we can afford as a city.
I mean, I'm all ears. Come on back up to the microphone. I
So
do.
we have a $15 million budget. We're going to spend $10 million on a piece of property. Okay.
If the city of Fairview.
Yeah. And how much? How much is it? We can have it.
It's a hell of a deal for where it is. I promise you.
Well,
We did have the middle school property donated.
Just think of the tax write-off you'd have.
Our city manager's already doing a title search right now, so he's no. Yeah,
He's giving you his business card.
Please talk with him.
Well, what do you have it listed for? Million?
No, 825,000.
I'll buy
Oh,
When did you have it listed for that? What year was that?
Yeah, what year was that?
What's the grade on it? Is it flat?
So you've got 10.5 acres for 825,000?
Let me in, y'all come back because, it keeps on.
Sir, your email's going to be blowing up tonight.
You
with
got
offers.
you got 10
offers.
10.5 acres for 825,000?
And I know my neighbor, their family property, they have 15 acres.
And theirs is 825,000 as well? So we're looking at just 1.6 million for 25 acres?
Oh, I don't know what.
That's amazing.
I know what I take for mine.
825,000?
Tom,
Strike the gavel. I think we got a deal.
checkbook.
Done deal.
Hey, look, I want to get rid.
Well, you talk to your neighbor and that's 25 acres.
I mean, I don't know, but it's beautiful.
You know what I want to point out though is that not a single one of us said, "No, we're not willing to move it." If there is something that is an actual option, yes, we're listening.
Try to promote all that. I didn't come here for that because I really would like to see some
I think you're gonna have a lot of calls tomorrow. Or maybe tonight.
Mr. Dougherty, can you call him first, please?
Yeah, can you please just go sit by him?
But thank you for that offer, and we can entertain that.
No way.
Let me ask this. Since this is going out over the internet and the TV, we have first right of refusal?
Do we get first right of refusal?
I got real estate agents that's already, so I'm legally bound to them, so.
At 825,000, right?
Well, I mean, that's what we were asking for, so.
Now? Oh, we
now
can
it's
get it for less? We've got first rights. Is it in the city? Well, that is just amazing.
Why could we have talked about this at 7:30?
We wouldn't be here until 11 o'clock.
So, sir, Facebook is now is blowing up
Yes.
right now. I'm not lying.
Everybody wants your property now.
Because I asked a question and people are actually responding, and so we're in trouble.
No, y'all stop.
So.
So we need
that said-
we need your neighbor's information too. I know.
We're going to have another amended budget meeting.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, emergency meeting.
Oh gosh, all the comments.
Here we go.
All right.
Here we go. We give you
Yep.
an offer.
Get him, Patty.
Anybody else?
Well, I mean, why didn't you let us know that at 7? I didn't bring my pajamas. What?
Mr. Brunger, can you get on that?
No.
Can you get on
Hey,
that?
I stay up till 1 in the morning. I'm good. Y'all can text me anytime because I don't sleep.
Well, I just won't hear it after I sleep. This has been very, very good. Yes.
Do you have your neighbor's information? You can pass it on to our city manager.
Northwest Highway.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, you're running away. I see what's happening. You are running away.
We know your name. We got it.
We know where you live. Oh my goodness, I think we're all getting giddy. It's so late.
Yeah.
Okay, final answer. We're good? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Meeting adjourned for tonight. Thank you all for being here at home and in the meeting room.